Back at Cady Arena after a 2-series hiatus, and this one means a little extra for the Miami RedHawks, expecting a packed house on both nights here on Friday and Saturday as the RedHawks welcome in second-ranked North Dakota and perhaps even more importantly, former RedHawk goaltender Ludvig Persson, who gets a very loud boo from the crowd as he's announced over the PA during our starting lineups. Poley and Jeff Middleton with you here this weekend on RedHawk Radio. Jeff, great to have you back in the booth for semester number 2. Miami's got 3 more home series left this season as the RedHawks will take on St. Cloud coming up next weekend. Then on March 1st and 2nd, they will round out their home schedule against Omaha. Second-ranked North Dakota is on the longest point streak to start NCHC play in the history of this prestigious conference, as they have not yet dropped points. They have secured points in every single game, at least overtime, for the Fighting Hawks, if not a regulation win in every game this season. For Miami, they enter on a 4-game losing skid. Good news for the RedHawks is the last time they played here, they played a Western Michigan team that you could argue was equally as hot as North Dakota is right now. Western Michigan had not lost in regulation for over 2 months, and the RedHawks gave them their first loss in a Western Michigan team that, following that, has reeled a bit over the past couple of weeks. For Miami, they continue to be very injured. The RedHawks are without a number of players here tonight. Mike Feenstra and Frankie Caragiollo remain out of the lineup with long-term injuries. In the shorter-term levels, Raymond Vitalins, Matthew Barbolini, and William Helene are all scratches. The RedHawks have 0 healthy scratches right now. Everybody not in the lineup is injured, and that once again has forced Chris Bergeron into the 11 forward and 8 defenseman lineup here tonight. Logan Neaton is dressed for the RedHawks. However, he is unavailable for this game and was not able to warm up. He hasn't skated. He's going to wear the gear and sit on the bench just for team morale's sake, but he will not appear in this one. Instead, it will be Bruno Breveris, the freshman from Riga, Latvia. It's been a bumpy road to start Bruno's career, Jeff, between the eligibility issues dating back from a couple of games he played in the KHL to getting thrown into the fire after the injury to Logan Neaton and having to deal with that. He enters with a goals against average north of 3.4, but this is a goaltender that the RedHawks really believe in for the future, just a true freshman.
Yeah, and I think I understand why head coach Chris Bergeron believes in him so much, is because, you know, you see these games and a lot of the mistakes that the RedHawks have made on defense have led to goals against, and it's hardly been Breveris' fault. You know, he's not a big goaltender by any means, so covering the net, he's only 6 foot, standing at 6 foot, 173 pounds, so not big, and he's not, you know, one of those NCHC goaltenders that we've seen kind of all this year be, you know, able to go across the net or cover up those high areas. So he's got to be really technical with himself, and I think, you know, as a freshman, he's been very good so far.
Pass it off to public address here for our national anthem. Jeff and I back for puck drop between Miami and North Dakota. Coming up next, you're listening to Miami Hockey on RedHawk Radio. Lucas Poley, Jeff Middleton back with you here from Cady Arena. Miami and North Dakota set to meet up. North Dakota's won 11 of the last 12 meetings. The lone RedHawk win in that span was last year when Jack Clement scored a late winner for Miami at the Ralph as Miami took down North Dakota. They'll look for some similar magic in an injury-plagued lineup here tonight. Starting goaltenders for North Dakota, Ludvig Persson has had a career year. The senior from Hinda, Sweden, transferred over from these Miami RedHawks after minding the RedHawk net for the past few seasons. He was not given a very warm welcome as he came back into Cady Arena, but that has not fazed him one bit, at least on the season. He comes in with a 15-6-2 record, 2.38 goals against average, 3 shutouts, and a .905 save percentage. For Miami, it's Bruno Breveris, the freshman from Riga, Latvia, the second of 2 European goaltenders starting in this game. Bruno with his 7th start of his freshman career, 3.48 goals against average and .877 save percentage, but as we already talked about, doesn't necessarily tell the full story with the type of play that his team has seen in front of him. Miami wearing the white uniforms, new ones for the first time. A little bit of an ode to the CCHA days with the double stripes on top and bottom of the sleeves. They've got the red Miami across the front with red names and numbers, white helmets, red gloves, red pants, and white striped socks. North Dakota goes with the green uniforms, black accents, white numbers on the front and back. Miami moves right to left in the first period. North Dakota moves left to right. Andrew Wilk and Andy Thackberry are the referees. The linesmen are Troy Merritt and Logan Belgraf as we get set to go from a very crowded Cady Arena on Friday night. Puck is down, off we go from Oxford with North Dakota winning the opening draw. Fighting Hawks move it left to right to begin period number 1. A steal and a push ahead. Waldron now with a break for Miami, trying to drive the net, and a nice play to knock the puck away by Logan Britt, the graduate student transfer over from Sacred Heart, who staves off a potential breakaway from one of Miami's best offensive threats less than 20 seconds in. Big hit on the near side is inconsequential as North Dakota gets it all the way into the RedHawk end. Another big hit thrown in the corner by P.J. Fletcher on Berg. The two now pinned up against the wall in the near corner, and they clear it free. Gaber finds it in the slot, drags and shoots. Dempsey with the block up to the left point. It's twisted back deep into the zone by Adam Wiebe, the freshman and draft choice of the Las Vegas Golden Knights. Abram Wiebe, rather, the true freshman for the Fighting Hawks. RedHawks trying to clear it out of the zone. It's held on the left blue line for the moment, but the RedHawks will chop it back out to center, where Garrett Pike, the 5th-year, will pull it back as both teams go for changes. Minute and 3 seconds gone by. No scoring yet between Miami and North Dakota. It's wristed in by Wiebe and blocked off a skate in front. Puck deflects back out to him on the right point, but it's knocked away. Sullivan trying to feed Dukovac. Puck got delayed at the blue line as the RedHawks were entering. They touch up offside, a minute 17 in. No score between Miami and North Dakota. And the Miami student section, which is probably in its biggest numbers genuinely in years this weekend, despite it being rush week here in Oxford, already having the chance rain down on the Fighting Hawk goaltender. Neutralized faceoff was won by Nielsen, but he had no support. Blake arrived there first for the Fighting Hawks, and North Dakota takes it ahead. A pass at the left blue line, missed the stick of Dylan James. The RedHawks will grab it and head forward. It's Dukovac on the dump-in attempt into the far corner. Keaton Persson, the 5th-year, gets stood up. Sullivan takes the puck, throws it in front. It's deflected. Center point now Simonovics walks to the right, dances around one, and gets it down the half wall, where he's finally got the support from Dukovac. It's poked up right point. Sullivan with a drive. That's deflected wide. Behind the Fighting Hawk net, Nielsen loses his stick, able to defend the puck with his feet and kick it up to the left point, but the pass was intercepted by Jackson Blake, and he'll clear it ahead. James with a break up the right side of the ice, but the puck goes all the way down below the goal line. He beats out the icing and will shovel it up to the point. Cross-ice feed was intended down the middle for Jaden Perron, but didn't find him, as the freshman sees it cleared back out to center ice, where his defense will regroup. Bennett Zamolik, the redshirt sophomore, transfer in from Minnesota State, sends it over to the far wing. Perron at the blue line will take it a step inside before he is walled off, and it's put back out to center, where the Fighting Hawks will drive it back in. It's Spencer Cox behind the Miami net, D to the far corner for Axel Kumlin. Wristed off the far boards for Blake Messenberg. His cross-ice pass missed Daskis, and so Zamolik will take it back and go D to the far side for Abram Wiebe. Quick touch pass ahead down the left seam is stood up by the RedHawks, and Griffin Ness could not get it free. Now it's Cox skating it up the near wing. Hands off for Taransky, trying to dance through center. But a nice play by Ness. He'll take it away. Weeb couldn't hook up with Ness there. The pass was cut off by Taransky. He'll dump it halfway down the North Dakota zone as both teams go for half changes. Now it's lifted back out the RedHawks way where Drasner and Middleton play catch. It's Drasner skating up the center of the ice. Crosses his defensive blue line and feeds Waldron on the near wing. Waldron will spin and chip it in from just outside the blue line as he gets crunched. Persson out to get it. That's his first touch on the puck in this game behind the North Dakota net. And he works a breakout that sees the puck driven down the right side by Berg. He gets into the zone, drags and shoots, missed the net wide left. At the left point, it is sent back in for North Dakota by Jackson Coons, draft choice of the Vancouver Canucks. Persson D-to-D. Wrister comes through, and it's tipped wide from Pike in the near corner. Fletcher tracking it down, but he can't chop it out of the zone. Gets it back and will send it behind the RedHawk net where Drasner gets it out to center. North Dakota pokes it back into the RedHawk end, but they were offside. Fletcher will grab it, step past the red, and fire it on in as the RedHawks go for changes. Some forecheck being applied by Sullivan. He's the only RedHawk there, and there's plenty of North Dakota reinforcements back as they will navigate it out of the zone. 15:50 to go first period, no score. North Dakota out shooting Miami 1-0. Gaber down the right wing, top of the circle, throws it in front. It's tipped by Berg, and a save made with the right pad by Berveris. Zamolik now has it touched off his stick by the RedHawk captain, Jack Clement. He pins him up against the near wall, and now it's Dukovac trying to forecheck behind the North Dakota cage, but it's taken out by Dylan James, who will walk through center. Give and go, James has it back, a seam down the left side. He shoots, a shoulder save made by Berveris. Twisted in front, now a giveaway. Blake leaves it off, and it's stolen away from Dylan James by Dukovac. Now Tanyan Beiser, who made his RedHawk debut last weekend, has it. The native of Shaker Heights, Ohio, and a rare player who played high school hockey in this state at the D1 level, fires it on in. Morrison got tripped up by Blake, and that's going to bring a penalty away from the puck as the Fighting Hawks were taking it through center. 15:05 to go first period. The RedHawks have weathered a couple of Fighting Hawk chances early on, being outshot 3-0, but they keep the game scoreless, and they'll head to the game's first power play. Jeff, just shy of 5 minutes gone by in the first period.
Yeah, I'm loving the energy right now. It looks like they're trying to keep up the pace with North Dakota. A really fast team and really fast along the wings. Jackson Coons and Reese Gaber on the first wing pair, and then Dylan James and Jackson Blake on the second. Just four guys who are absolutely speedy and super creative with the puck. And the RedHawks have to keep this up, because these turnovers in the middle of the ice, they had a couple there on that last sequence. Those can't happen, because the Fighting Hawks are certainly going to make them pay if they keep doing that. But hopefully on this power play, we'll get to see some offense here.
RedHawks win the face-off Miami power play, just 12.5%, 11 for 88 this year. Cross-ice pass from Sullivan. Nielsen was wide open on the back door, but the two fail to connect. It's Fletcher below the goal line. Finds Sullivan right circle. He shoots, saved by Persson, and it's fired on out. Good save. First test on Ludvig Persson. That's Miami's first shot. A high-quality one from the right dot as the Fighting Hawks go for a change. Kumlin up to the far side for Hampus Rehnquist. Touches it on into the zone. Tracks down the loose puck, but gets jammed up along the wall, and it'll be grabbed and flung out by Dylan James for North Dakota. Fighting Hawk penalty kill 82.4% on the year. This has been a group, as many have been at the top of the NCHC, that is very strong on both sides of special teams. Rihard Semanovic has it for the RedHawks. He skates it up the near wing. He gets on by James and will now cross the blue line before saucing it to the far side for Dukovac. Bank pass back for Semanovic. Now up to the right point for Waldron with space. Simonovic's right circle, handles, puts it down low. Dukovac back to Simonovic's right dot. He shoots, tip shot fluttering, puck just wide. Left point Cox. Down to the right side, Simonovic's with a drive. That is blocked with a sprawling effort by Garrett Pike. Behind the Fighting Hawk net, it's dangerously played in front by Keaton Persson, but he had a reinforcement there, and James will clear. Very good energy by Miami on this power play. This is the best it's looked probably since non-conference play. 30 seconds remaining on the man advantage as the RedHawks have two shots in the power play so far. Simonovic's will fire it in from just inside the blue. Much simpler save that time for Persson. Puck rings around to the far side, and it's out to neutral ice. 15 seconds left on the minor penalty for tripping to Jackson Blake. And the RedHawks have it on the near side. It's Taransky with 7 seconds left in the power play, trying to go to the far side for Messenberg. He couldn't fire it in. North Dakota clears, and out comes Blake from the box. It's a successful kill for North Dakota, but Miami did at least have something positive on the power play, generating some chances. Under 13 minutes to play, first period. No score between Miami and North Dakota as the shots have now seen themselves even at 3. Fighting Hawks try to play it through center. Missed everybody, but the RedHawks will turn it over, and now it's Blake down low, dragging on the backhand in front. Right pad save Braveris. The rebound was there for a moment, but it was cleared by Miami's Teddy Lagerbach. He has it now on the right side, and he'll twist it back out past neutral ice into the Fighting Hawk end.
There's those turnovers again. You can't keep doing that. It's a good power play, and you need to gain momentum from it.
McLaughlin tried to go up for Livanovich at the point. It was deflected back down below the goal line. Blake now up for Weebright point. He fires high and wide. Off the glass, Lagerbach, the transfer from Arizona State, tried to play it across the ice, but it deflected right back to him. He touched along for Daskis. All this, meanwhile, going on while the RedHawks go for changes. Finally, Dukovac will just skate it back to his own end as the change finishes. He finds Dempsey, but he fanned on the dump-in attempts. And just short of the blue line, he'll touch it back for Dukovac. He skates around one and now a second as he shovels it on in. Dukovac goes for a change. North Dakota with plenty of guys back, and a cross-ice pass finds Ness, who will skate it out to neutral ice. He sauces this one ahead for Strinden. His shot deflected wide. Montgomery in the far corner can't track it. It's chipped off the glass, high and rolling out of the zone for Miami by Sullivan. Back behind the Fighting Hawk net. A long pass stretched ahead for Strinden, leaves it for Ness, and he kicks it to himself, firing from the right side. That goes off the side of the net. Simonovics for Miami, lost control on the puck, but chopped it to the far side for Ryquist, skating up the wing. Now back to the near wing. Taransky sees a pass find his stick over a couple of Fighting Hawk defenders. Strinden coughed it up in the right circle. Waldron out in front. A shot attempt by Fletcher. It's sitting in the crease. Taransky trying to track it. He throws it on Waldron with the final shot, and another right pad saved by Persson.
What a flurry.
Touchdown by P.J. Fletcher at neutral ice, and he finds Taransky, who fires it in. This is as energized as Miami has looked in this building all season. On the near wing, it's Zamolek that plays it through center for Perron. Now to the far side for Jamernick. Ever dangerous. Jamernick with a cross-ice pass, and Schmaltz one-timer deflects off the blocker. Now a second attempt from the left point. Whistles wide from Nate Benoit. Down below the goal line, Jamernick gets pasted by Cox. Puck lifted up in the air. Daskis touches it back for Kumlin. Now directed further. Cox with space up the near side. He feeds ahead. Beiser, breakaway in front. Save, rebound, touched in, they score! The speed of Tanyan Beiser and the follow by Thomas Daskis, and Miami has taken a 1-0 lead over North Dakota. 9:45 into the first.
How about that for your first point as a Red Hawk? What a play. Mentioned earlier about the Fighting Hawks' speed on the wings. My goodness, what a burst from Tanyan Beiser. A great way to follow that up, too, from Daskis. Phenomenal play right there. How about that crowd burst, too, huh?
That was excellent, and they are on their feet. RedHawks win the draw. Miami has taken a 1-0 lead over second-ranked North Dakota here in the first period. This Miami team has learned time and time again, though, against this Fighting Hawk group, they can score very quickly. See how the answer is for North Dakota on the other end, whose energy has been far from poor in this first period. Logan Britt backing into his own end. It's played up the far wall for Jackson Kuntz for the Fighting Hawks. He finds a bubble of space and feeds Gaber on the near side. Tried to sauce it back for Kuntz. Clement knocked that away. Behind the Miami net, it's Albin Nielsen. The Niagara transfer leaves it behind for Clement. Pass fed to the near side where Dempsey skates it back out to center. He'll hand to Dukovac just inside the Fighting Hawk blue line. He hits the brakes and now twists it in deep. Behind the North Dakota net, no pressure on Logan Britt. He'll try to lift this back out to center ice and can. James couldn't grab it out of the air, and so racing it down, Dylan Moulton will grab it. He blows a tire behind the Miami net, but is now back to his feet. Leaves it off for Dempsey. Played up the near wing, and Fletcher's kick looking for the swinger through the middle of the zone for the breakout went sour. It's pushed back in deep of the RedHawk zone. North Dakota, though, going with a very passive forecheck here, and Miami able to outlet. Fletcher got spun around, catching a pass at center, and he fell down to the ground. Footing has been a little bit off in this game so far, which has not usually been the case at Cady Arena, not only this season, but throughout the years. Thomas Daskis, the goal scorer, has it from the right side, and he shoots. A shoulder save made by Persson. It leaked through, but it went wide. Fletcher lifting the stick of James. He lost it.
Oh, no. Come on.
And a penalty coming
Are they
up.
Give it to him for that?
On Fletcher.
He's got to hold on to his stick.
Official was signaling for some sort of cross-checking motion, so I don't know if maybe that was before the stick lift happened, that there was something extra beforehand, because, like you said, the stick lift seemed clean, but it does seem like the official signaled that there was some sort of kind of cross-checking motion that he made towards Fletcher, which likely would have happened before that stick lift. Nonetheless, the RedHawks will go to the kill with 8:37 to go in the first. Leading 1-0. We'll stay here for the media timeout. You know, it's interesting, Jeff, as a guy who formerly played high school hockey in the state of Ohio, I mean, that is a graveyard for wanting to play hockey at a high level. It's fun while you're there, but once you get beyond that, it's not incredibly likely that you see anything other than maybe a cup of coffee at ACHA D3 or some intramurals, as we know very well. But for Tanyan Beiser, he's from Shaker Heights, Ohio. He got the assist on that first RedHawk goal. He played up in Cleveland. He played Ohio high school hockey, which is incredibly rare. To my research, the last RedHawk that did that was Alden Hirschfeld, who played way back for the RedHawks in some of the glory days of this program, and he was a great RedHawk as well. He played at Sylvania Northview High School up in the Toledo area. And Hirschfeld holds a number of OHSAA records. He was about a 3-point-per-game guy throughout his high school career. That's about the indication of how good you got to be playing high school hockey in this state if you even want to sniff D1. But Tanyan Beiser played for both St. Ignatius High School in Cleveland and Gilmore Academy. And when he was a healthy scratch for the majority of the early part of the season, you thought he was kind of the walk-on type where he wasn't going to really see the ice much. He's seen the ice these last couple of games, and he created that goal himself on that last play against the nation's second-best team.
Yep.
We're out of the media timeout, and Miami wins the defensive zone faceoff. If you're just tuning in, it was a 2-minute penalty to P.J. Fletcher for interference. The RedHawks clear it down, and the power play breakout will set up for North Dakota. They are lethal on the man advantage, 27% on the year, and as it seems pretty much every team in this conference is, they can hurt you at 5-on-4. North Dakota looking to get back into this game, trailing 1-0. On the far side, RedHawks have a couple of white jerseys but lose the battle along the wall. It's Gaber that pulls it free. Hopping puck up to the left point. It's saved by Livanovich, and now Blake back up for Livanovich, and Blake once again working it through. Livanovich center point. Looking, goes to Blake on the right side. He mishandles, but the RedHawks can't whack it out. Blake back up for Livanovich to the far side. One-timer. It's blocked in front. Persson had the attempt. Ryquist got it with the skate. Livanovich skating down the left side, looking for something in front, doesn't find it, circles the net, finds Jackson Blake up top. Blake with the handle. The sophomore from Eden Prairie, Minnesota, goes up top for Livanovich. Now Blake once more on the right side. Livanovich playing catch with him. Those two have touched the puck a lot on this power play. A wind-up for a one-timer, but Persson can't pull the trigger. Drasner with the steal. His clearing attempt, though, catches Persson in the upper body. RedHawks can't clear. Blake down the right side shoots, and it goes just wide. And Carter McPhail on the Miami bench wills that puck out of the zone. Minute 30 gone by in the power play, and the RedHawks can finally get that first PK unit off. North Dakota as well going for their first change on the power play. Jamernick shoves it in off the near side boards. Clement will get to it first for Miami. Sullivan loses it, regathers, off for Clement. He'll sauce it down with 12 seconds to go in the power play.
Yeah, that first power play unit for the Fighting Hawks is absolutely lethal. Just so many weapons, and I love their strategy to play a lot of catch-up towards the top.
Pass out in front. Jamernick was looking for Pike, who was driving the front of the net, couldn't find him. Fletcher out of the box. The RedHawks have killed the penalty. Jamernick in the near corner. Rims it around to the near point where Pike will shove it in deep. Pike, the transfer from Alaska, native of Toronto. Now it's Zamulik on the right side. He'll fire in from the point. That is well wide, likely intentional, as he was looking for a Fighting Hawk in the corner. Instead, a bouncing puck is finally settled by Nielsen. Gets it out to center. Crossed the red line, tried to chip it in, but it hit off the skate of Jamernick, and the Hawks move it forward. The Fighting Hawks, that is. A hit late at the blue line on Cameron Berg. And the RedHawks now will grab it and finally push it in deep. Under 6 minutes to play, first period. Miami leads 1-0 over second-ranked North Dakota. Fighting Hawks being outshot by the RedHawks 8-5, but have had a number of high quality. And now a 3-on-1 the other way. Strinden trying to play it in front, and Daskis sprawls in front of him to block the passing attempts. RedHawks will loft this one down the ice. It will go down for icing with 5:38 to go in the first. You can tell, though, the effort level is that of a postseason game right now, it feels like, for Miami, which is something that's very interesting because that's not something that a lot of these guys have plenty of experience in, but this game just feels like it means a lot to this RedHawk team right now. Left wing side faceoff coming up for the Fighting Hawks in the offensive zone.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think part of it is also trying to prove to yourself that you can hang with this team. I mean, you lost 6-4 and 5-1 at Ralph Engelstad Arena up in North Dakota, and frankly, those games were closer than the scoreboard indicated, but you know, you still want to try and prove yourself, especially after, you know, the last win that you had was against then number 10 ranked Western Michigan team.
RedHawks outlet to center. Daskis lost his handle on the puck. It's sitting on the red line. Morrison touches it along and gets slammed. McLaughlin grabs the puck and will circle back towards his own side. Now with a full head of steam, he leaves for Blake, who crosses the M at center ice. Just inside the zone, Blake plays catch, gets it back, and lofts one up from the bottom of the left circle. Braveris with the catch. He holds on with 5:08 to go in the first period. And Miami leading North Dakota 1-0. We'll step aside here from Cady Arena as the RedHawks lead it. 1-0 our score. You're listening to Miami Hockey on RedHawk Radio. First period conclusion coming up on the other side of this break. 5:08 to go first period. Luke West-Poley and Jeff Middleton with you. Miami has been out of the gate, guns a-blazing. RedHawks lead North Dakota 1-0 as we get into the late stretches of the first period. Fighting Hawks with an offensive zone face-off coming out of the break. Miami's energy has looked excellent. It hasn't been perfect. They've turned the puck over a couple of times, and this game has not been entirely devoid of quality scoring chances on the North Dakota side. They easily could have 2 or 3 in this period. But Miami's got the game's only goal, and the RedHawks will try to build off that as we get set for the final stages of the first.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, this team, they got to keep their feet moving. The sequence before the media timeout, they were kind of hanging back and being a little passive, and against North Dakota, you can't do that.
Face-off win by the Fighting Hawks. A pass missed Persson in the high slot and will end up in the near corner. Waldron had it taken away by Persson. He circles and fires from a sharp angle, and that missed wide. RedHawks are without a couple of their top scorers in this game and likely for the series, as Matthew Barbolini and Raymond Vitalins are out. In addition, William Helene with a short-term injury. Weeb on the right point for North Dakota, plays it cross ice, a fake shot there, and a bite by the RedHawks as Persson played it across and a shot whistled wide. Now a wrister through traffic is gloved away with the blocker by Braveris. That came off the point shot by Garrett Pike, and the RedHawks have it behind the net as North Dakota continues to inch closer to the shot tally. It's now 8-7 Miami, largely due to that power play. Cross ice feed, it missed Taransky, will go down the ice, and it will be icing on the RedHawks with 4:09 to go in the first period. Miami leads 1-0.
Yeah, they're lucky that that shot missed the net because Cameron Berg had that lined up and Braveris was not over. So if he hit the net, that was going to be a for sure goal. Got to keep those sticks in the passing lanes. There were a couple players up at the top for the RedHawks that didn't have their sticks just active at all, and a couple seam passes really created that chance. So you got to keep a sharp mind. I mean, North Dakota can come back at any time. One shot changes this game, and it's tied. This is not a 2-goal lead or a 3-goal lead or a 4-goal lead. This is still a very close game against the number 2 ranked team in the entire nation.
Miami wins the faceoff and clears it down. Fletcher beats out the icing and is now applying some pretty admirable forecheck. North Dakota having trouble here, and Miami will steal it at the right point, but immediately a giveaway by Sullivan, and North Dakota can clear as far as center. RedHawks chop it back the Fighting Hawks way, and Gaber circles a de facto screen there by Zamolik, and will skate it into the Miami zone on the right wing. Behind the net, it's slapped across for McLaughlin, but he missed the bouncing puck, and the RedHawks will take it out. Nielsen connects with Dukovac. He took a step laterally on the blue line before going in. It's an offside on Miami. With 3:27 to go in the first period, RedHawks still leading 1-0. Over second-ranked North Dakota will get a neutralized draw coming up on the far side of the ice.
The good old blue line move. Always, always very good at drawing your own teammates offside. I like that forecheck from P.J. Fletcher, though. That's the kind of energy you need, especially from one of your leaders and your team's leading goal scorer. Just keep applying pressure, keep those feet moving. You got to stay active in this game, and we talked about it before, Luke. Even during those home series prior to this one, it's got to be a 60-minute effort. I think you got to get through this period first, obviously, but you got to stay on your toes.
Fighting Hawks with a face-off win. Puck is quickly moved to the near side and into the RedHawk end. Simonovic gets to it for Miami, and now to the far side. Rehnquist with plenty of room to skate it out. Enters the North Dakota zone on the right wing, drags and pushes. Nice defensive play by Jake Livanovich, the true freshman, who hits him on the far side. RedHawks, though, force a turnover below the goal line. Daskis had 3 Fighting Hawks on him, and the number game wins as the Fighting Hawks take it the other way. Livanovich will bounce it in. Sloppy turnover on the near half wall, and a shot through. Got deflected, looked like a pass actually to the far side by Persson. The RedHawks broke it up. North Dakota will play it back into the Miami end where Simonovic sidesteps off of Ness and will now sit behind the Miami net. Out in front. Nearly got it swatted away by Montgomery on the edge of the blue paint, but the RedHawks get it out to center. Fletcher pushes it in, rolling along the dasher. It finds Waldron on the far side. He touches for Taransky, working behind the net next to the Zamboni doors. He'll play it off the far wall. Moulton on the near wing now for Fletcher, low circle, thrown in front, and it hit off a skate. Might have been Taransky's, might have been the skate of defender Abram Weeb. Nonetheless, it ends up out at center where the RedHawks control. They play it back into the Fighting Hawk end, and it ends up right back in neutral ice as teams are playing some wick-whack right now with 2 minutes left to go in the first period. Miami leading 1-0. Moulton leaves it off for Fletcher and takes the defender with him. Now Waldron with a nice curl, but puck got poked away, and he'll have to back it out to neutral ice after the puck evaded the zone. Pass looking for Moulton on the near side, missed him, and the Fighting Hawks quickly move it the other way. Schmaltz hits the brakes just inside the near blue line, throws it down low for Strinden behind the RedHawk net, off the end boards to himself. He plays it up to the left point for Logan Britt, and he'll just shove it in deep. Drasner had no idea where the puck was for Miami. It was right behind him. Instead, it is picked up behind the goal line by Perron, throws it in front.
He did not
Whacks
see that
at it by Schmaltz. Breveris was screened, but he does make the save and hold on with 1:23 left to go. Miami still leading 1-0.
There it is again. I mean, Fighting Hawks. Pardon me. Keep getting these names mixed up. But no, that's the kind of offense they have. They're just so good at creating along the walls and bringing it to the middle and just finding a way to get it on net through screens. Their power play is really good at that as well. Because number 29, Jackson Coons, 6'3", 224 pounds, he'll just stand right in front of the net and let Jackson Blake and all of his first power play unit line mates just go to work. It's just a really impressive offensive strategy because of how much they're able to get it off consistently and through their screens.
RedHawks do win the faceoff and get it back out to center where they push it back into their own end willingly. Cox up ahead for Dukovac, who skates across the M. Leaves it just inside the blue line in the North Dakota zone for Nielsen. A wrister through traffic. Goes untouched into the breadbasket of Ludvig Persson, and he holds on with 1:05 to go in the first period. Miami leads 1-0. And with that shot, not much of a scoring chance, but it does give Miami the shots lead at 9-8. RedHawks have an offensive zone draw on the near side, as it will be Messenberg, Daskis, Lagerbach.
Yeah, and normally I don't really condone those kind of shots, but against a team like North Dakota, you get every shot that you can take, especially when we were just talking about it during the timeout, the media timeout. The first game that they played at Ralph Engelstad Arena when they lost 6-4, they only tallied 14 total shots. So as many as you can get on Ludvig Persson, try and make him a little uncomfortable, especially since there have been a couple shots that he's bobbled. Just any shot on net's good. Ooh, what a hit. Oh.
Kumlin's going to get called for it. Puck was just a little bit too far gone there as Kuntz did the old chip play off the wall and was trying to get around Kumlin, who lit him up. You can kind of get in the way there, but you can't lay a full-on hit. That's what Kumlin did. That's interference, and so he'll go to the penalty box and sit for 2.
Yeah, that's a really unfortunate penalty. 56.5 seconds remaining in this first period. That is absolutely not what you want against North Dakota. It gives them rest of the period to have their first unit out, and then gives them also the second period to have their first unit out as well. And this could be a backbreaker. Need a big kill for the rest of this almost minute here.
56.5 seconds remaining with Miami up 1-0 on North Dakota. Fighting Hawks to the power play for the second time. They're 0 for 1 thus far. It's a face-off win by North Dakota. This first line generated a number of chances the first time out. It's Levinovich, center point, walking in, shooting, and scoring.
Yep.
Through traffic, Jake Levinovich, the freshman from Phoenix, with his first career power play goal. It's his 3rd of the year, and the Fighting Hawks answer at the death of the period with 46.5 seconds left to go. A power play goal evens the game at 1.
And again, that's just killer. Can't get the puck out off the face-off. They lose the draw. Messenberg almost gets there, but he's unable to poke it out. And Levinovich, what a defenseman he's been so far this year. Tim Taylor Award nominee with the likes of Denver's Zeev Buyum, who's probably going to go top 10 in this upcoming NHL draft. He's just been phenomenal this year, and we just saw why.
So North Dakota scores just 10 seconds into the power play, and now the game is tied, and pretty much all the momentum you feel like if you're Miami has somewhat vanished as the crowd is back down to their seats here at Cady Arena. We're back underway. Miami with a chance to steal the momentum back in a 2-on-1 going the other way. Fletcher tried to play it off the pad. Persson made the save. A soft rebound pops out. RedHawks whack it up right point. It's saved by Clement, throwing it back in front off a Fighting Hawks skate. Bouncing puck to the far side. James will skate it out of the zone. It's played back in by Waldron, and he will touch it up offside as the straggler and Fletcher was unable to get out of the zone with 11.9 seconds to go in the first. That was really good rebound control there. Even though he gave it up by Persson, it was a 2-on-1. If he kicked that with the left pad to the far side, there was a RedHawk there waiting on that back post. Instead, he kicked it kind of the edge of the paint where he could knock it away. Neutral zone face-off here with just under 12 seconds to go is won by North Dakota, backing it into their end, maybe looking for one last rush in the period. It's fired on ahead and touched through center, twisted around deep into the RedHawk zone by Jammernick as time runs out on the first. And that is how we end our opening period. So Miami came out with the energy, came out with plenty of fire in their step. RedHawks got the game's first goal. Tanyan Beiser with his first point as a RedHawk, the freshman. He left it for Thomas Daskis on the edge of the crease to bang it home as Miami took a 1-0 lead. North Dakota answers on the power play with 45 seconds left in the period. 3rd goal of the year from Jake Levinovich. And we are even at 1 at our first intermission. Jeff, Miami out shooting North Dakota. Could argue maybe they had a little bit better energy, but not quite as good execution, especially with what they're doing defensively. Feels like things are fixable that need to be fixable right now for Miami. All the uncoachable type of stuff is there for this RedHawk team tonight.
Yeah, certainly, and I think you said it earlier in the broadcast. I think this is the best that they've looked in terms of energy and whether, and you know, their steps and just moving on the forecheck and moving the puck through the ice, through the middle of the ice, and around in the offensive zone is probably the best they've looked in a while, especially, you know, over the last couple home series that we've had. They haven't looked nearly as good as this, and for sure, it's you said it also. It looks like it feels like a playoff matchup at this point, just considering where each team is in the standings. But yeah, I really like the effort, and I think the next step is really coming out with that same energy in the second period and to start the second period, because you gave up a power play goal with 45 seconds left, and that's kind of a bummer just because you did have the momentum. I would argue that North Dakota probably had the better of the chances, even though they're losing the shot battle. But other than that, I really did like that period from Miami. I mean, Berveris made the saves when he needed to. And I liked especially that bounce back after giving up the goal by Fletcher and trying to create that 2-on-1 at the end of the end of the period as well. So just a good period, but you know, we've talked about it so many times before, Luke. Just got to keep this 60-minute effort. This game was not over when they were up 1-0, and they did kind of sit back and that led to that goal, and just a bad penalty, I would argue, just in the middle, trying to be physical. I understand why it happened, but that's just one you can't take. And so getting out of your own way, I would say, is the best way to describe what they need to do in the second and third. Just play their game. Their system's more than good enough to stay with this team, and just keep creating chances, keep getting the shots on goal.
The skeleton of what is necessary to win tonight is here for Miami. It's now all about how they can keep that up and execute a little bit better on the defensive side of the puck headed into the final 40 minutes. After one, here from Cady Arena, our score, Miami 1 and North Dakota 1, here from a packed house in Oxford. This is going to be plenty of fun over the final 2 periods. You don't want to miss it. Jeff and I back for puck drop, a period number 2 on the other side of the break. You're listening to Miami Hockey on RedHawk Radio. caught our breath during the intermission, and we're all set for period number 2 between Miami and North Dakota. Spirited affair in the first with the RedHawks and the Fighting Hawks tied up at 1 after 1 period of play. Luke West, Poley, Jeff Middleton back with you on RedHawk Radio as the RedHawks look to get just their second win over North Dakota in the last 7 series with the Fighting Hawks. Jeff, we talked about it a little bit to wrap up that first period, but for Miami, the intent is clearly there for this RedHawk team. Execution-wise, a few details could be changed. We mentioned a few key turnovers that North Dakota failed to capitalize on. They did take a bad penalty that North Dakota did capitalize on for their lone goal. Clean up some of that stuff, and you feel like you're in a pretty good spot if you can keep the energy up, and that is a pretty big if considering how energetic this RedHawk team was in the opening period. Yeah,
that's exactly right. And Chris Bergeron talked about it in his presser on Wednesday about how college hockey is pretty much all about capitalizing on mistakes that are made by the other team. And obviously that goes for every sport, but college hockey especially, I believe, is a lot of doing that. And the RedHawks certainly made some big mistakes in that first period, and they were lucky that North Dakota didn't capitalize on them. But North Dakota also made a couple of mistakes, and Miami did capitalize on them, or they got close a couple of times, and I think that's what they need to do again here. Obviously, North Dakota up and down the lineup is the more talented roster, but if you stay within your system and you play sound defensively, especially against this team, you're going to be just fine. And second periods have been kind of the telltale periods for these RedHawks, and this is going to be a big period. Just got to come out flying like they did in the first.
RedHawks in the home whites moving left to right in period number 2. North Dakota in the road greens, they move right to left. Miami wins the opening face-off of the middle period, and the RedHawks will take it and fire it on in, thanks to Captain Jack Clement into the Fighting Hawk end. Hot pursuit on the forecheck for Taransky. Puck is outletted up the near side, and Berg will clear it out to center for the Fighting Hawks. Fletcher has it for Miami, leaves it for Waldron. He went down, going the other way now. Up top, Berg in the high slot. It's off the crossbar. Rebound right in front in the crease, and Kuntz scores. Waldron blew a tire. You talk about mistakes out in front. May not have been his fault there, but just got a little tangled up. And North Dakota takes it the other way. Jackson Kuntz with his 4th of the year gives North Dakota their first lead of the game at 2-1.
And that's a really good team, just doing what they do best, just coming down, using their speed on a 3-on-2. Absolute rocket from Cameron Berg, who missed the net earlier or later in that first period, I should say. And Kuntz just goes to the front of the net and cleans it up. Just a tough break for the RedHawks, and not the start that you want to the second period.
Fighting Hawks winning, and it's Blake leaving it out in front. Shot comes through from the right side by James, and it's deflected high. Down to the right point, North Dakota firing on all cylinders to begin the period. Livanavage with a sharp angle shot. Shoulder saved by Braveris, shaking off the cage there, as that might have got him up in the head. It's up into the protective netting. 42 seconds in, North Dakota's taken a 2-1 lead over Miami. When you look back to that Western Michigan series, the answer to adversity was good for Miami. Might be scratching your head a little bit, though, at what you saw in those ensuing seconds. We're not even a minute into this period, and it's been all Fighting Hawks so far.
Especially given Luke, they in that first period, pardon me, they came back after that goal and got their own a chance of their own, and they looked, like it didn't faze them. But this is just not. This is very passive play.
Fighting Hawks won the face-off, and the puck just kind of stuck up along the near wall right now. Ryquist had it taken away by Blake. He skates it up to the point. Sullivan will chip it out. Now a 2-on-1 the other way for Miami. Blake back checking. Sullivan down the right side. Shoots and scores! Oh, Ludvig Persson is going to absolutely want that one back. That shot went directly down the middle on the ice between the two pads. And Persson just couldn't get into butterfly in time. It went 5-hole. And we talk about answers. Little lucky there for Miami, but they do get on the scoreboard with Ryan Sullivan's 4th of the year. The RedHawks tie it at 2, a minute and 8 seconds into the second period.
And you want to talk about, again, taking advantage of a mistake here at the blue line. Great play from Ryan Sullivan. Takes it all the way down, and that's that execution that the RedHawks have just been missing this season. they've had chances against good teams to come back and tie games or take the lead, and they just haven't. But that was a great shot, a little lucky, like you said, but hey, they'll take it.
North Dakota wins the faceoff and gets it into the RedHawk end. Ludvig Persson admittedly has looked a little bit leaky sometimes on shots like that, but now a takeaway here for the Fighting Hawks. Persson tried to play it across, and that was broken up. Cox takes it, and a rolling puck up the far side finds its way out to center. A couple of those pucks have gotten through as a dump-in attempt goes into the bench, and Teddy Lagerbach, as he has at many points throughout this season, is mixing it up with some Fighting Hawks in front of their bench. 18:21 to go in the second. We'll have a neutralized draw. But, I mean, Persson, he's very similar to Braveris, who's in the Miami net. He's not big. He's 6 foot, just like Braveris is. He moves well. He's great with his hands. RedHawk fans love this guy, and his time here is he would seemingly give you 40 saves night in, night out, but that was kind of the main downside for him, is he had to do that.
I also think
he's been great again this year, though, Jeff, but yeah, just a little bit of rebound control issues so far tonight.
Yeah, and I think it's worth mentioning, we talked about that first game that they lost in North Dakota. They lost 6-4, but he looked shaky in that game, too. I mean, the RedHawks were down a lot by the second period, but it ended up 6-4, and a lot of it was because Persson just looked a little shaky, and they just threw whatever they had on net.
Miami scored 2 late goals in that game to make the scoreline look a little closer than it actually was. The RedHawks got battered pretty good in that Friday night game. North Dakota has it in the RedHawk end. It's Strinden in the far corner, off for Montgomery behind the Miami net. He's checked by Waldron, who will take it away and send it up the near side. It misses Taransky, but gets down to the Fighting Hawk end, where Strinden, will check it across.
How about those wheels on Artur Taransky? Ooh.
Made that at least a contested puck. Waldron again with a takeaway high in his defensive zone, gets it back out to center. Pass to the near side, Kuntz with a lane, down the left wing, drags it in front, shoots, save made by Braveris. Puck is on the edge of the blue paint, digging away at it, and finally it's held on, and Drasner is getting after it right now with Gaber, and now Sullivan involved for Miami, and this has unleashed into chaos behind the RedHawk net. All 5 guys for both teams are there getting locked up. Gaber was heavily involved. That was Dukovac. He was buried in that pile. Couldn't see who it was for Miami. Gaber and Dukovac were the 2 that were most physically involved there. I would be shocked if we didn't see anybody head to the box here. It looks like we're at least going to see 1 from each team.
It's a little kind of cheap cross-check by Coons on Waldron over at the side here. Waldron just kind of got in his way, and
so Gaber might have actually avoided the worst of that. I said he was the most physically involved. They're not going to get him. They're going to get Berg instead for North Dakota. Dukovac's got to be a little bit careful. Looked like he was sticking his head out the door to go bark at the officiating crew or in the referee's creases. He was on his way to the box. It is Dukovac for Miami that gets the penalty. Officials are going to discuss this. If they feel that there's any sort of malicious stuff, intent to injure, that is reviewable.
I mean, Berg was just poking away. He was the guy at the front of the net that Sullivan had to get out, and then Sullivan kind of shoved Berg all the way to the boards. We saw Sullivan on the outside of the scrum at the end, but
and it looks like actually now they are going to get Gaber.
There we go.
So he's sent off the North Dakota bench, the Fighting Hawk captain. He had his helmet off, so he might have been getting checked there for concussion potentially, but he's going to go to the...
I think he had a problem with his cage.
Yeah, so he went to the equipment guy, and they're going to get Clement too. So it is going to be 5-on-5. The officials were signaling before they pulled each guy off the bench that it was going to be 5-on-5 to both benches, so the crowd was briefly enthused by Gaber going to the box, but it is just 2 penalties on each, and they'll all offset. And so we're going to play 5-on-5 hockey here. 2 guys each in the box, presumably for roughing. We got no announcement as we normally do with 17:14 to go in the second period. Game tied up at 2. Faceoff goes outside the zone for North Dakota after the scrum, and the RedHawks win it. It's Simonovic over the center red, firing it on it. Forecheck applied on Garrett Pike in the corner by Sullivan. He has excelled below the offensive goal line for the RedHawks in this game. Ryquist tracks it down, throws it in front. It's sticked aside by Persson. Now in the left wing, it's whacked out of the air by Simonovic behind the net. Sullivan in front, a shot and a goal by Nielsen.
Another bad one.
It was just a quick play to the bottom of the left circle, and Nilsson just one-timed it. Persson was trying to go post up and seal that near side pipe, and Albin Nilsson, his countryman from Sweden, just squeaks that one through, and the RedHawks take the lead with 16:47 to go in the second period. Back and forth we go. It's 3-2 RedHawks.
You want to talk about a guy that's really made an impact from this RedHawks team. Only played, this was his 7th game, but that's his 5th point in 7 games. He had 4 points in 6 games coming into this matchup. Just, again, a lucky goal, but one that the RedHawks have kind of needed and missed this year. That's just that execution and a little bit of luck that they've needed to kind of stay in these games or take the lead as they just did. Just really great play by Sullivan again below the goal line.
So it's an even strength 5-on-5 goal. North Dakota got it into the Miami end, but now the RedHawks skated out. Kumlin crosses the center and fires it in. It's Messenberg in the far corner, engaged with Persson. RedHawks pull it out up to the left point. It's Cox. Cross for Kumlin. Lane to the net. Kumlin winds and fires. Glove save. Persson. It leaked through behind him, but he falls backward on it. And now the RedHawks with some aggressive moves into the North Dakota end. And, of course, the Fighting Hawk defense not going to love that. This engagement, however, is snuffed out much more quickly as each team separates. 16-17 to go second period. And we get a stoppage with Miami leading 3-2, and indication is we won't have any penalties on either side as that dispersed rather quickly.
Yeah, and I think that's the right call. I mean, just North Dakota guys defending their goaltender as they should. But man, they just got to keep firing that puck on net. Persson looks so shaky right now. That one also could have bobbled its way through his arm. Just keep loading up, and we know that Kumlin has that one-timer in that slap shot. Boy.
Face-off win by the RedHawks. It's Kumlin wrapping it around the net. Plays it in front.
My goodness.
A high shot by Waldron, and a save by Persson. He holds on with 16:10 to go in the second. That had nearly the exact same look as the goal that was scored just a moment ago by the RedHawks, who lead 3-2.
Who are these guys?
Man, Miami is getting the puck on net right now with some pretty serious frequency. Face off on the left wing side. Fletcher is lined up at the top of the circle for a shot. Waldron taking the draw for Miami.
I think this is the kind of killer instinct that Miami doesn't have, or hasn't showed at least. You know, they smell blood in the water clearly, so you got to keep this kind of energy up. Again, we said it in the first, say it again in the second. They got to keep this kind of energy up for the full 20.
3-2 RedHawks. Face off is won by the Fighting Hawks, getting it out towards center. Oh, shot in by Kumlin from center ice. Is patted aside by Persson, but we're kind of in that moment of the game where you hold your breath anytime it gets near the Fighting Hawk net. Fired on back in by Miami on the near half wall. Waldron trying to pry it free, and instead the puck will fall to North Dakota, and it's Strinden with plenty of speed down the near side. Excellent play by Drasner to force him out.
Yep.
Puck trickles in on net, and it's held on to by Braveris with 15:34 to go in the second period. And this is something also that we haven't seen as much, Jeff, with Miami playing some lockdown defense off the rush. That's been an issue, dealing with trailers, dealing with plays exactly like that where you're not getting beat by a step to the net. Robbie Drasner, he's a veteran guy, hasn't played a whole ton of minutes in his first few years here. That was an excellent play.
Yep, absolutely, and I think, you hit the nail on the head. Ben Strinden, 7th-round pick of the Nashville Predators. That's not a guy that you can just let walk down the slot or walk down the wing, and Drasner did a really good job of just forcing him out and letting the puck roll right to Braveris.
Face-off came right in on Braveris. He pounces on it. So a couple seconds ticked by, but nothing comes of it. We'll have another face-off in the same spot. All 4 guys for each team still in the box, 2 aside with the offsetting penalties. Just under 15 and a half to play in the middle period. Miami leads North Dakota 3-2. Turnover in the left circle. Blake twisting around, shooting, and it's blocked by Nielsen, who went down to his knees. Pike to the far side. Blake wants it for a one-timer. He gets it. Now he'll grab and shoot. It's snapped out of the air from the right circle by Braveris, and he holds on. RedHawks taking some exception to James. Didn't get too close to the goaltender, but just being safe, I guess. With 15:12 to go in the second period, still 3-2 RedHawks, and now Berg and Gaber, along with Dukovac and Clement, are released from the penalty box, and everybody is free. Offensive zone face-off coming up here for the Fighting Hawks.
I like that little mental game Rydquist was playing. Just keep your arm on him until he overreacts. I like that a lot. Try and draw a penalty.
It's like Stitch from Lilo and Stitch.
Right. just poke at him a little bit.
RedHawks fluttered off the glass following the faceoff. This will fall just short of icing, and Miami will go to work on the forecheck. It's Pike from the near corner, and he is walled off by Beiser, playing it behind the net for Thomas Daskis. Daskis up to the left point. It's Dempsey fluttering it back in. Beiser touching it back into the corner for Morrison. Morrison twists it in behind. Daskis with the mishandle. It was taken away for the moment. Now Daskis has it back, and Morrison, who he connected with on a pass, was just outside the blue. He'll touch it in for an offside. Tanyan Beiser does not look like a guy who has been a healthy scratch the first 2/3 of the year.
I was gonna say something about that too. Just he looks like somebody that's made himself at home, and I'm impressed with the fact that he's, this is his second game ever in a RedHawk jersey, and he's been arguably their best player, probably certainly a top 3 player this game for them. He just looks, one, he doesn't look like he's a freshman, and 2, he doesn't look like this is his second game ever played, and the fact that he's been able to do this tonight against this team of all teams that they're playing, just I commend him. He looks really good.
Mentioned, the frequency of high school players in Ohio playing college hockey is probably once in a decade type of thing. It's truly that rare. Beiser isn't a pushover by any means, though. He did play in the North American League after playing high school hockey, so it's not as if he's never played at a high level before. This is his first experience. He has played against Division I players with plenty of frequency. But Beiser has looked good. And Jeff, it's really interesting because you look up and down this Miami lineup, and somewhat of a theme for Chris Bergeron is that the improvement with a couple of those guys he's brought in as recruits over the last couple of years has been exponential. It has not been linear. You look at guys like John Waldron. First half of the year, no one really knew who he was. He was a healthy scratch a few times at the beginning of the season. All of a sudden, he's got a hat trick against St. Cloud, and he's lighting up the scoreboard. Similar thing happened to Richard Simonovic earlier this year. I mean, he seemed like a fringe lineup type of guy. He was kind of forced into the lineup by the amount of injuries that Miami had. He's been one of Miami's best defensemen over the last few series. It seems like something where something really clicks for these guys under Chris Bergeron, and it's not as if you get noticeably better game over game over game, but rather you kind of break out once, and that's where the confidence and the skill really starts to blossom.
Yeah, and I think for all the problems that Miami hockey fans have with Chris Bergeron and the results that this team has gotten over his tenure, I think the fact that all of these young players are gaining confidence and they're getting these roles in the lineup, and they're playing a lot of minutes, or they come into the lineup and they make their presence felt. That's a testament to the kind of coach he is.
North Dakota ices it here after a battle at their defensive blue line that they won. It'll go back to the Fighting Hawk end, and the RedHawks will elect to take it on the right wing side with 14:29 to go in the second period. Miami in front of North Dakota 3-2.
And I think just continuing on that a little bit, I think that's one of the pieces of coaching that goes a little unnoticed for sure. I mean, fans are, rightfully upset with the kind of results that this program has had. But those young guys stepping in and really getting these roles, and you have a whole line of sophomores that can really hold their own. It's just that's really an underappreciated aspect of what a coach at this level does.
North Dakota gets it out to center. Persson rips one in. That one's knocked away with each hand by Braveris. RedHawks rip it around the far side boards, and this will go down for icing with 14:08 to go in the second period. I mean, people have to understand that this is not the CCHA anymore. That's where the RedHawks' former home was, and that was a great conference at the top. But that was also a bigger conference than this at just 8 teams. The top to bottom depth was not even close to there. You had teams like Lake State, Northern Michigan. They're not bad teams necessarily, but they weren't all good at the same time. Yeah. It's not as if you're playing a top 15 team every weekend like you are here in sort of the SEC of college hockey, if you will. North Dakota wins the faceoff and trying to play it in front. It was James who couldn't get it into the slot area. Has it back on the near side and gets crunched. Waldron can't clear. James stick handles around Ryquist, and now the RedHawks will launch this one down the ice. It'll be short of icing on the near hashes. It's picked up by Logan Britt, the graduate student for North Dakota. Britt gets it through center, drag, shoots, it's deflected, and that caught a piece of the netting just over top the glass. we will get a stoppage, and I believe this faceoff should stay in the zone with the deflection, and it will with 13:34 to go in the second. Miami in front 3-2.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the, I mean, you mentioned it. I mean, I'm from Tennessee, and I'm a Vanderbilt fan at heart, and I think anybody that watches any form of college football knows, you know, Vandy was good at one point, and now they're utterly terrible, and the conversations have been, you know, do they even belong here? And I think there's been conversations about that, about this RedHawks program, but honestly, I think I'm more confident in the growth of this RedHawks program than I am Vanderbilt football, if that says anything. So.
Yeah, it's a similar situation, but also it isn't, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Behind the Miami net, North Dakota has it in the offensive zone. It's Strinden circling up to the far point. This is Weeb. Try to rip one through. It's blocked as Dukovac goes sliding down for it. Now on the right point, Montgomery fakes the tee and will hand it off. Weeb back to the far side. Pass across Montgomery at a wide open net, but his stick was tied by Dukovac. Weeb falls to his knees, center point, regathers his bearings and fires one through. That's blocked in the wrister by Nielsen. Now Drasner has it behind the Miami net, skates to the far corner, off the glass and out down the ice, and just wide right of the cage for icing with 12:42 to go in the second. Miami in front of North Dakota 3-2. Fighting Hawks now have the shots lead narrowly, 17-15. I hate to use your timeout this early for Chris Bergeron. I'm sure he thought about it at least.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like he's going to take it though.
I think one of the things that I've noticed over the course of this game is just how well the RedHawks are using their bodies to block North Dakota players from getting the puck along the wall especially. But that's been kind of a theme here. They've been just really smart with their physicality.
Schmaltz behind the cage. Short backhand pass finds Persson on the near side. Very shifty. Persson handling, turning, gets to the circle and shoots, and a save made out of the air by Braveris, who hangs on. 12:23 to go in the second. Miami still leads by a goal.
It's one of the 2 Carolina Hurricanes draft picks on this team. Jackson Blake, top 10 scorer in the NCAA right now, and Jaden Persson, boy, can he move. He's got a fantastic shot, but man, his skating is just phenomenal. 2023 third-round pick, so still a young guy too.
Persson has just been so good off the wall and creating chances for himself in this game. That was the latest example. RedHawks win the faceoff and clear it around the far side. Icing is waved off here, so the RedHawks can finally outlet from their own zone, as it is Persson that will skate it back out to center for North Dakota. Jamernick has a seam up the left side. Jamernick trying to drive the net, leaves it off. Shot comes through. It's off the post by Persson. RedHawks take it the other way. It's a 2-on-3 of sorts, as Daskis will dump it in on the near side. Now the RedHawks will go for changes as off goes the fourth line, and on comes the second. Kuntz over to the far side. It is deflected with the skate by Berg into the RedHawks zone. Near corner, Reese Gaber, senior captain of the Fighting Hawks, had it pulled away from him by Clement. Taransky gets the loose puck, plays it across the blue line for Daskis, very close to offsides. Daskis shovels one through the slot area. Nobody there, as everybody was lower in the zone. Taken back the other way by Gaber. He will turn and find Britt wide open. He shoots from the slot, and the save made by Braveris. RedHawks trying to find Clement streaking through the middle, and that puck was off the heel of his stick and into the North Dakota zone, where the Fighting Hawks have it once again. A nice stand-up, though, by Waldron, and a takeaway. Waldron dances down low, gets to the net front, but he is pushed over by Britt on a good defensive play by the veteran defenseman. RedHawks have it now, regrouping in their own end. Simonovic send the puck tied up in his sticks, finally gets it loose, and feeds Waldron on the near side, who mishandles a rolling puck. Zamolik will grab it from him. 10:52 to go, second period, 3-2 RedHawks. This is a period that saw a lot of goals early on, and since has seen chances, but nothing more. Blake on the near side for North Dakota in the offensive zone. Up center point, a drive through, whistles wide by Pike. Hard rebound, found the bottom of the right circle. It's carried back behind. Now Blake from the slot dances around one, backhand in front, and a beautiful sprawling save by Braveris. Puck is still alive behind the Miami net. It's shoveled up the half wall. McLaughlin is dumped by Ryquist. RedHawks trying to get it out. There's a battle up the wall, and finally Miami gets it out to center, where a regroup and a quick move ahead for North Dakota misses Jackson Blake. And now Miami can finally settle this, but Simonovic is going to turn it over here. He does whack the puck, at least to the far boards, where Blake will track it down. McLaughlin below the net, trying to shovel it in front. It was deflected away by Ryquist. Blake gets to it first for North Dakota, and he is hauled down by Dukovac, but we play on. Messenberg gets it through the middle for Dukovac. Now Ryquist playing it up ahead. It's a 3-on-2 for the RedHawks. Ryquist waiting, dragging, shooting. It's wide.
Got to get back.
And now maybe a 2-on-1 developing the other way for North Dakota. It's Griffin Ness instead, just a 1-on-1. He'll wait it out in the corner and throw it in front. It's deflected wide into the near corner of the Miami defensive zone. It's Ness getting pinned up against the door by Messenberg. And now Messenberg will try to shovel it up, but it's taken and lifted to the point for Livanovich. And now Strinden for North Dakota. Strinden spins down the near side, gets by Reichquist to the slot. Lagerbach lost his stick. Surprised there was no hook call there on the RedHawks. Instead, it's Strinden handing it off. A sharp angle shot almost from below the goal line by Ness, looking for potentially a bank off Berveris' back. Missed everything and went up into the netting. And we get a stoppage with 9:16 to go. Indication is that the puck was deflected, so the faceoff will stay in the defensive zone for Miami. Middle period, middle stages, Miami leads 3-2.
Yeah, and obviously North Dakota's taken charge here a little bit after Miami scored the go-ahead goal. 9:16 remaining in the second period. Love to see the RedHawks get a little more offense going here and keep their foot on the gas pedal, because no lead is safe against this good of a team. It's good defense along the wall as well. Just got to keep Jackson Blake from walking around 4 different guys. Man, what a player he is.
Perron shoots from the top of the circle after the face-off win. That hit 2 bodies in front and went wide. Jamernick from the left point throws it out in front. Getting to it first and circling. Schmaltz can't pull the trigger. Now up center point. Waiting and finally shooting. It's deflected high from Livanovich and up into the netting with 9:01 to go in the second. RedHawks, momentum-wise, where the puck has been, have been on their heels a little bit. Defensively, they're getting in lanes, which is a good sign, as Miami continues to lead by a goal and another D-zone draw coming up.
Yeah, and that's something that I didn't touch on earlier in the first period, but I should have touched on it. They've been really good at blocking shots tonight and getting in lanes with their body, not just their sticks, but their bodies as well. And Berveris is having a phenomenal game so far. He's made some really big saves, but there have been some chances that looked like they were going to go in, but a guy stepped in front and sacrificed the body, and that's been a big difference here.
After the face-off win, Taransky gets it through the middle of the ice. Cox is wide open to skate it ahead. He will give it off for Fletcher, who lofts it into the North Dakota zone. Britt was struggling with it for a moment, pokes it over to the far side. It comes right back to him. Hard hit applied there on Zamolik, who goes down, but North Dakota gets it up through center. Berg will knock it out of the air and touch it down before the dump it. Berveris out of his net to fire it up the far side boards. Cox trying to stick handle through traffic. Instead, he'll take out the lob wedge and nearly hit the rafters on the clear. That ends up in the North Dakota zone. Backing up, Logan Britt feeds to the near side. It's Gaber onto the backhand into the zone. Gaber trying to drag his way in front. He is blasted by Spencer Cox, and a penalty will come of it, but it's going to be on North Dakota. Miami touches up. They head the other way. Kumlin with a drive. It's deflected into the netting. Brad Berry is absolutely irate. I don't know what's going to be called here, as I feel as if you can't call goalie interference in that situation, as Gaber got absolutely hammered in front of the Miami net by Cox, and if you get pushed in, that's not a penalty. I'm a little bit surprised here, as is Brad Berry.
Cross-check.
Officials are kind of milling around the Miami zone, which, again, this would make significantly more sense if it was a Miami penalty, but the RedHawks took it the other way. It is a penalty on the RedHawks. It's on Spencer Cox.
Okay.
So it was just some miscommunication by the officiating crew that let the RedHawks touch that puck and keep play going, as Cox will head to the penalty box.
I don't even know if I'd call that a cross-check. Watching the replay, he got full shoulder-to-shoulder on that. I don't agree with that at all. Yeah, that's a rough play. Obviously, not a good sequence for the referees there, given if they're going to call a penalty on Miami, you obviously have to call it when they touch the puck, and they had possession there for a whole shot. But, yeah, I don't think watching that replay I'd agree with that cross-check call.
So Miami to the kill for the third time. They're 1 for 2 so far, as the faceoff is controlled after some scrambling by the Fighting Hawks on the far side. Blake hands it off for Livanovich. Back up for Blake, center point, and hops his stick and evades the zone. First goal on the power play was scored for North Dakota by Livanovich from the center point on a wrister through traffic that went over the pad of Bruno Berveris. On the near side, it's Kuntz, up center point for Livanovic, down to the half wall for Perron. Walks down bottom of the circle, now back up left point Livanovic. Cross for Blake, plenty of room into the right circle in front. Gaber fires one through. Save made by Riveras, and he holds on. Little touch pass from the bumper spot there. Gaber with the one-timer, and a chest stop made by the Miami netminder. Minute 18 to go in the power play. 7:26 to go second period as Miami continues to lead North Dakota by a 3-2 count.
There's an interesting little change to what Miami's doing on the penalty kill. They've seen that North Dakota loves to have that little soccer kind of play where they go in a little triangle using the point and the wing and the guy in the center. So they've come up a little higher. Kuntz was just standing in front of Riveras, just all alone. There was nobody near the net. So it looks like the likely solution to that is playing the guys up high instead of playing the guy down low.
Fighting Hawks control off the draw. It's Jamernick that leaves it off into the near corner. Sullivan tracks the puck and fires down. Miami is halfway through this penalty kill on the 2-minute cross-checking minor to Spencer Cox. 7:03 to go second period, and the RedHawks lead by 1. McLaughlin gets through traffic, try to put it through the legs of Dempsey, but he blocked with the skate, and Kumlin will tap it out as far as center ice. Pike will circle it around into his own zone on the regroup, and now a dump-in attempt finds Riveras behind the Miami net. Riveras will leave it behind himself for Dempsey, who's having trouble. Dempsey delays long enough for Riveras to get back into his own net. Pike now with a shot. That one deflected just high. Might have caught the crossbar. Riveras without a stick. Waldron on a breakaway the other way. Moves free. He scores! Broken play to an entirely new level. Somehow John Waldron was all the way at the offensive blue line with the puck below Miami's goal line. Got the outlet pass and beats his former teammate low glove to put the RedHawks in front by a pair. It's a shorty for John Waldron, and the RedHawks lead it 4-2 with 6:32 to go in the period.
Yeah, he initially dove to try and just get the puck out, and then the North Dakota defenseman kept it in, and then just a completely whiffed at the blue line, and Waldron was already down ice. What a goal, and again, execution. Just got to score on your chances, and they sure are doing that.
So still a little bit of time left for North Dakota, who's got it back in the offensive zone on the power play. They now trail by 2. Livanovic center point, cross for Blake, in front for Gaber. His shot got blocked, still alive. It's thrown in front, but it's patted aside as Persson got it through. RedHawks take it, and Cox was looking to break away. He does find it just inside the blue line and will fire it in. So successful kill and a shorty for Miami, who leads by 2. Cox touches it just into the Fighting Hawks zone, enough so he can get off the ice. As 5:48 remains in the middle period, Miami leads 4-2. Kuntz with a shot from the near side. That is sticked wide by a RedHawk defender. Now it is Beiser circling along the near half wall. Kicks it through to Nilsson. Now Moulton will get to it. Bottom of the right circle in the Miami defensive zone. He hands for Clement. Clement up ahead. Beiser touches it just beyond the center red. Back in behind the North Dakota net. Persson playing it in behind. Far half wall. Messenberg plays it down low. Daskis gets pulled down. Barry Schutte is not very happy that there was nothing there as Ryquist now throws it through traffic. That gets blocked in front. Ryquist has it again left point. Drags and spins almost in slow motion around Ness. Shovels it in front. And it is knocked aside by Persson. Top of the left circle. Simonovic hits the brakes. And he'll fake the handoff and now carry to the right point, where he will bank it up to the half wall for Blake Messenberg. Messenberg shovels it in behind the North Dakota cage and now directs it further to Ryquist on the far half wall. He gets jammed by Ness from there. Now it's pulled free by Ryquist. Beiser leaves off for Ryquist left point, between the legs for Messenberg with a turnaround shot from the left side. And that is a pad save by Persson. Puck is lifted as high as the banners on that play by North Dakota and all the way into the stands. So this will stay in the zone for North Dakota, and Miami with another good shift by that kind of combo third, fourth line. Can't truly call it a fourth line because Miami's only got 11 forwards out there, but this is a surprisingly strong effort by a group of guys that have not played a ton, both in terms of games played and shifts played this season. 4:39 to go second period. Miami in front 4-2. We'll keep you here for this media timeout. I mean, there's still plenty to be played. You have to keep your head on your shoulders here if you're Miami and have some perspective, but this has been truly a really impressive effort, and that execution that we touched on to close off in the first has been there at the points it's needed to be in the second.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think now this feels as if it's unfamiliar territory for sure. And you have a 2-goal lead on the second-ranked team in the nation. It's just not something that has really happened this season, and honestly in a while for this RedHawks team, especially for these guys, all mostly young guys. I mean, again, the RedHawks don't have their second, fourth, and fifth leading scorers, and they're up 2 goals against North Dakota. It's just it has been really, really impressive. But again, like you said, Luke, you've got to keep perspective, because in a matter of moments, this game could easily be tied, and that's just how good North Dakota is. That's just a testament to the talent that they have. But, I mean, this RedHawks offense, they've been moving the puck extremely well. I think I've hardly seen a missed pass tonight, and that's, a testament just to discipline and, making the right plays when you need to. And like you said, execution on passes is just as important as execution on shots. A little luck here and there, of course, but that comes when you stay in your system and you play the game the right way.
Fighting Hawks win the faceoff, get it across the center red, and get it into the RedHawk zone. It's Cox up for Waldron. Saucer pass on the backhand through for Kumlin. He crosses the red and will fire it in. Bouncing puck, chested down by Persson in the North Dakota net, and he'll cover with 4:24 to go in the second. Miami leads 4-2. And you remember back to the first period, Miami was in a similar spot where they had North Dakota before the second media timeout, pushed back in their own end. They had the momentum. This crowd was into the game. And North Dakota did what good teams do, which is they got a goal, they quieted the building going into the locker room, and they stifled some of that momentum. So this is as big of a stretch for the Fighting Hawks as this game is seen right now. Right wing side face-off for Miami. It'll be Albin Nielsen taking the draw against Owen McLaughlin, the sophomore from Pennsylvania, draft pick of his home state's Philadelphia Flyers.
This is the line you need to calm down a little bit. Dylan James is fast. Jackson Blake, fast. These guys are just speed. So if you can keep them hemmed in their defensive zone, Chris Bergeron talked about it as well. That's what you need to do. It's how you keep the puck out of their hands as best you can. They're going to get their shots, but
North Dakota able to outlet. It's James tearing down the near side, looking for an option in front, throws it there, and Dempsey will take down Britt. That's a penalty coming up on the RedHawk defenseman, and he will head off to the box for 2, and Miami will go back to the kill with 3:57 to go in the second period, up 4-2.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, I get he did fall over. I'm sure that's a hard one, because from up here, I mean, you can't really see what happens from the other side. And if he got his stick in the skates, obviously that's a trip. I'll have to watch the replay here. But again, it's just another that's just another late period penalty. Yeah, okay, that is, yeah. He kind of got his
legs. It does look on a replay like the stick of Dempsey gets under the right skate there, and so that was why it was called.
But again, that's just another late period penalty that you can't take.
Getting it in front, a shot off the crossbar from a sharp angle by Blake. Woo. Somehow it triple pipes and didn't go. Gaber in front, Blake with a turnaround shot from the right circle, and that is deflected away. 3 pipes. They might take a look at that shot. For now, it's Livanovich up on the left point. Drags and shoots. That one might have caught a piece of the blocker, but it ends up wide. Up at the left point, this is Perron. He's got shiftiness. Fletcher aggressively pressing. He's forced to throw it across. Drasner now applying some pressure. Puck is chopped at by a couple of players, ends up in the air, knocked out of the air by Blake. It falls on the stick of Drasner, but he can't clear. Bouncing puck finally is pushed free by Messenberg. He'll head up the left side. He gets hit pretty hard in front of the Miami bench, but does his job to clear. Minute 09 to go in the man advantage. 3:03 to go second period. Miami leads North Dakota 4-2.
It doesn't look like that one went in on replay, at least from this angle.
So North Dakota's got it back into the RedHawk end to pass in front, looking for Livanovich, and Moulton chopped down on him. Now an errant feed, looking for the center point, and Perron goes back out to center. Teams are even when Miami is killing a penalty in this game. RedHawks with a shorty, North Dakota with a power play goal. Perron plays it in front softly, easy save for Bavaris, but the rebound was there. RedHawks get to it first and clear.
Got to watch that rebound right to the slot. That's a dangerous play. Good save, though.
Livanovich faked like he was going to hand it off. That gets him the space he needs to get into the zone on the left wing. He will put it into the corner for Schmaltz. A deflected pass finds its way to the slot where Ryquist will whack it down the ice with 20 seconds to go in the minor penalty to Zane Dempsey. 2:14 to go, second period. Miami leads North Dakota 4-2. McLaughlin out in front for Berg. Berg striding down the center of the ice. He has it back on the right wing. Berg plays it cross ice. Schmaltz drags and shoots. Blocker saved by Braveris. McLaughlin has it now up the half wall. Down for Jammernick in front. Schmaltz tried to play it across. Its glove down as the penalty expires. Puck somehow trickled just wide of the left post, and the RedHawks will clear. This came after the expiration of the penalty as Dempsey was chasing after it, trying to beat the icing. He won't do it, and the RedHawks will be pinned back in their own end with 1:46 to go in the second, but at least they had gotten through the power play. They're now 3 for 4 on the kill on the night. 1:46 left to go in the second. Miami leads by 2.
Yeah, and a little bit of worrisome killing towards the end there. It looked like that unit was a little bit tired, not getting to the puck as quickly as they probably should have, but some big saves by Bruno Viveris on a power play that I believe has been close to 50% since the new year. Just absolutely, just lethal, just unbelievable special teams. But the RedHawks have done their due diligence, and they've looked good overall on the penalty kill. There have been a couple moments here and there, but I think overall they've looked really strong in that department tonight against a really good power play.
Brad Berry had a quick conversation with the official as though he might maybe be challenging something or something of that regard, but the two nodded, and then an official explanation was given to Chris Bergeron. There seems to be some consensus there, so not sure what that's about, but the goal certainly does not count now as there's been a whistle and the puck has been dropped again. Miami's got it back below their own goal line. It's Hampus Ryquist with a cross-ice feed right onto the stick of Dempsey into the zone. He'll wrist one through that's easily blockered aside by Persson. Fletcher now up the near wing. It's Messenberg left point, trying to sidestep. He is knocked by Ness into the wall. Daskis below the goal line. Up the far wall, finds Cox near wing. He rips one on the ice that goes wide left of the cage as Daskis tried to shove that one forward, but a nice play by Ness, and now a 3-on-2 the other way for North Dakota. It's played to the far wing for Strinden. He will circle in the corner. Now it's played out in front, and it's knocked back below the goal line by Messenberg. Montgomery working on Cox. Puck pops free to the far corner, and it will be picked up by North Dakota quickly out in front after a couple deflections. Britt had a chance at maybe getting to that on the back door, but he was a couple steps behind. Now it is Beiser for Miami, trying to chip it off the wall. Britt had it sealed, gets up to the point. Kuntz holds the zone, but his shot in was gloved down by Drasner, and now the RedHawks will just play some D-to-D catch without much forecheck coming from North Dakota. 30 seconds to go in the period as Miami leads by 2. Pass through the middle of the ice, missed the tipper, and Daskis beyond the center red. Fortunately for Miami, it ended up on net, where Persson sticked it aside. Long pass ahead, Berg, cross ice, Gaber with 18 to go. He circles the Miami net. Thrown in front by Gaber, it's knocked away. Bouncing puck is now shoveled to the side. Simonovic chips it down to the middle. Zamolik shields him off. Waldron trying to track that, but it's knocked away. 5 seconds to go. Berg one-on-one the other way. Berg drags, and it's knocked off his stick by Clement as time expires on the second period. Just what you need out of your captain, Jack Clement, with a big poke check in the one-on-one as time expires on the second. And as if things couldn't get much better for Miami following their start, they went into the first intermission even. They go into the second intermission +2 with Miami leading 4-2 after an eventful first few minutes of this one. RedHawks went down 2-1. They've scored 3 unanswered, including that early goal, a couple of early goals I should say, followed by one later on in the period. A shorthanded goal by John Waldron has the RedHawks in front by 2. You mentioned unfamiliar territory, Jeff, a little bit earlier on in the period. We are right in the thick of it now as you head into the final 20 minutes of play. Miami's got some crucial stuff to say in the locker room, and for a team like this, maybe an intermission in a situation like this is a little more crucial than it would be if you're a team like North Dakota, with Miami holding on to a 2-goal lead. Good news is RedHawks don't have to kill a penalty headed into the final period, and it's a fresh start for this RedHawk team who's had the intensity through the first 40 minutes.
Yeah, and I think, I'd probably walk in there and just be like, you like this feeling, right? You're up 4-2 going into the final frame of regulation on the second-ranked team in the nation. This is a pretty good feeling. You're in front of a packed crowd here at Goggin. It's been a really good game just from an effort standpoint, and the crowd's going to stay in it if you stay in it, and if you keep putting on the pressure and you keep getting shots on net, you keep testing the goaltender, you're forechecking hard, laying good hits, and that's just exactly what they need to keep doing. They've they've gotten to this point because they've been consistent through 40 minutes. There have been, as every hockey team experiences, I mean, we've seen it tonight from North Dakota. There have been times when they haven't had the momentum, and they've been able to, kind of mitigate that, whether it's big saves from Bruno Braveris or some big block shots up at the point. That's just the consistency that you need, and probably one of the best 40-minute efforts we've seen all season. Just a really, really constructed effort as well. Defensive zone has been good. Offensive zone, I mean, we saw it towards the end of the second as well. That stretch outlet pass right to the tape of Zane Dempsey from Hampus Rydquist, I believe. Just those are the kind of passes that earlier in the year, especially, or against Minnesota Duluth or Colorado College, they just were not converting on, and that leads to, those passes can lead to goals. Just those little things throughout the game, and that consistency that they've been able to do it with has been a big difference maker. And boy, do we have an exciting final 20 minutes coming up.
That is certainly true. North Dakota's got the shot advantage at 25-21, but Miami leads where it matters on the scoreboard. RedHawks outscore the Fighting Hawks 3-1 in the middle frame, and they lead 4-2 over the number 2 team in the land headed into the second intermission. This is going to be a thrilling finish, and is hopefully going to be one that we haven't seen in quite some time as the RedHawks look to close it out against one of the nation's best teams and the best team in the conference. That comes on the other side of the intermission. Stay with us. Third period on the way with Jeff and I back for puck drop as we head off for a quick break. We'll be back in just about 10 minutes' time. You're listening to Miami Hockey on RedHawk Radio. After 2, it's Miami 4 and North Dakota 2. 20 more minutes of regulation here between Miami and North Dakota. It's been a strong opening 40 for the men in red and white as Miami leads North Dakota, the number 2 team in the nation, by a 4-2 score. Effort has been consistent through 40 minutes, something Miami has struggled with this year. Execution has at times been good, at times been bad. It's been getting better as this game has gone along for Miami. They went into the first intermission tied at 1. They gave up a goal less than a minute into the second period. They've scored 3 unanswered since and now lead by 2 headed into the third.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that, we talked about bouncing back, and they kind of made us eat our words a little bit, especially me. I was kind of like talking about how they had that bounce back at the end of the first period after they gave up that power play goal to tie the game, and then they gave up that goal with less than a minute into the second period, and then they came back and scored and tied this game, and then eventually took the lead, and we are where we are now. They just got to keep throwing pucks on net. Ludvig Persson over the course of that second period looked a little bit more comfortable, but not much. And if they can keep executing on these passes, especially their breakouts, and just be protective of that puck, then this is going to be a fun, interesting 20 minutes.
Off we go in the third. Miami in the white uniforms at home, moving right to left. North Dakota in the road. Kelly Greens moving left to right. RedHawks win the faceoff and get it into the Fighting Hawk end, where it's quickly reversed the other way and directed up to the far wing. Kuntz leaves it at the half wall for Cameron Berg. He circles the Islanders draft pick, gets to the slot, and wrists one through from an interesting body angle. It goes just wide. Now Zamolik from the right point. He throws one through that hit off the upper body of Clement, who was no more than 10 feet from him, and into the left corner. Waldron has it there for Miami, skates it up the wing, and he will wrist this one in as the RedHawks go for changes. Taransky chases it down for the RedHawks, working against 2 Fighting Hawks, a third awaiting behind them. Puck pops to him. That is Britt, and he'll play it to the far side. Dylan James tried to get it through center. That area was jammed. Simonovic's ahead for Dukovac for Miami. Crosses the line on the left wing. Throws it off the boards. Hits off the dasher and points up into the air, where it is finally settled at the point. Miami chops it back in. Dukovac drags, shoots, and it hits off the high glass. Trying to hold it in on the right wing. Ryquist couldn't hold the zone. Puck is tied up in the skates of linesman Logan Belgraf, and Miami will touch it in just offside in a play that was going back and forth between about a 2-foot range of each side of the blue line. 18:52 to go, third period, and Miami made it further than they did in the second without getting scored on. They continue to lead 4-2.
And a guy that we haven't really touched on tonight that I believe deserves some recognition is, Richard Simonovic. That man, 6'3", 205 pounds, but such a phenomenal skater. He looks bigger than 6'3", if I'm telling you the truth. But man, he's just been so good at moving the puck, really good on entries to the zone as well. Just he's been quietly one of the best defensemen that they've had tonight.
James on the far side is hit by Thomas Daskis, who keeps it in the zone with one hand and plays it in deep. Excellent play by the Air Force transfers. Already got a goal here tonight. Blake on the near side for North Dakota. Plays it cross ice through the air. It's tapped along the ice by James, deep into the zone. Full 5-man change for North Dakota. The RedHawks grab it back below their own goal line. Kumlin trying to pass it through center. Schmaltz with the intercept. Perron back for Schmaltz. Tried to drag it to his skate, but he kicked it to the near boards, where the RedHawks will take it. It is Kumlin ahead for Messenberg out to center ice. Schmaltz takes it away there. Now it's Jamernick, a 3-on-2 the other way for North Dakota. Perron up top for Schmaltz. He shoots just wide, left of the cage. Schmaltz back with it, tried to shovel it up to the point, but he fanned partially on the attempt. Taransky got rubbed out along the far side boards. The Miami bench wanted a penalty, but nothing will come of it. Taransky looks to be heavily shaken up as Miami gets it to center. North Dakota takes it back in. A shot by Perron goes high and wide. John Waldron has it now at neutral ice for Miami. Thought about a zone entry. Instead, he'll circle back to his own side of the red line and now cross it once again. Waldron dances by one. The stick lift from behind by Montgomery forces him to the far wall. Throws it on net. Save made by Persson. Sullivan to it in the corner for Miami on the far side. He'll rim it now to the near wing. Dylan Moulton pinching in from the point. Hands back for Fletcher, who's covering. Fletcher cross ice for Drasner. He fell down to the ice. Able to get it down low, though, for Waldron. Against the Zamboni doors, he's doubled, and he loses possession of the puck. Up to the right point. Drasner again will hold the zone. This time, though, more room for Livanovic to just grab this and throw it back out to center, where it is taken briefly by Strinden, but he's bumped off the puck. Waldron on the left side. Great cross-ice feed. Sullivan shoots, but his stick was snapped in half, and the puck didn't go anywhere. Great find by Waldron. Unfortunately, it doesn't result in anything for Miami. Strinden up ahead, dances through some traffic down the right side, but got pushed as far as the corner before he lost the puck. Nielsen has it on the near half wall of the Miami defensive zone. It is pried away from him by Berg. Berg gets to the middle of the ice, center point, throws one on the ice wide of the cage, bounces back in front, cleared away once and twice by Nielsen as the puck just kept finding its way to the front of the Miami cage. Finally, it ends up on the far side. It's kicked back to the middle of the ice where Dukovac has space for it for Miami.
I think the RedHawks are a little lucky that they're not on the penalty kill right now. It looked like it could have been a little bit of a hook on that play by Berg down on the wall.
Dempsey just stepped in the blue line right there and off the rush, wristed one in that was easily grabbed by Persson. 16-14 to go third period. Miami in front by 2. And Jeff, I'd ask for your rating, I guess, right now, this Miami effort. I think I know the answer that I'm going to get, but nonetheless, I'll still ask, what do you think?
I mean, it's been a little bit. It's been good. I think I'd probably give it out of 10 a 6 or a 7. It hasn't been, I think, the best we've seen in this game, but you know, the passes fine by Waldron. You said it, just a fantastic pass, and it's really unfortunate that Sullivan's stick snapped in half because he was pretty much wide open in the slot. But yeah, I'd probably give it a 6 or a 7 out of 10. Not the best we've seen this game, but certainly not bad. Just got to keep it up.
Figured we were in that type of territory. Face-off was won back down to the RedHawks' end. They've tried to get it forward a couple of times, but it's still behind the RedHawk net. Simonovics chopped it past Gaber, gets to it on the near side. Gaber gives him a shove as he throws it to the far wing. Ryquist ahead for Tanyan Beiser, crosses the center red and fires one in. Daskis seals the near wall. Gaber hits him, and now Daskis falls down to his knees. Morrison grabs it. He circles the net, protecting the puck. Morrison trying to get it up to the point. Now he does. Ryquist drags, shoots through traffic. Puck is gobbled up, and Ness will float it off the glass. Simonovics holds the left point, sidesteps one defender, now plays it out in front. Daskis, though, doesn't have inside positioning. The Fighting Hawks take it the other way. A stretch pass could have hit James on a breakaway. Instead, it's knocked away. Fighting Hawks now hit the trailer. Blake across and a sprawling save on James by Braveris. Full extension with the left pad. My goodness, this game remains 4-2. RedHawks have it in the far wing. It's Waldron pushing it forward. He can't clear the zone. Blake dancing it through, and finally it's knocked off his stick. Waldron will grab it once more. 5 Fighting Hawks surrounding him. Can't get it to the red. It'll be taken away and dumped back in. Bruno Braveris with a breakout type of game. The true freshman has kept his team in front a number of times when you could argue he shouldn't have. Schmaltz across to the far side. Shot through is blocked. Second effort on the one-time attempt by Brennan. The loose puck. He fans on it, and it skips out to the zone. Miami is back on their heels right now, and North Dakota continues to pressure. On the far side, it's Logan Britt skating in. He finds Perron, who crosses the blue. Lost the puck just inside the blue line. It's banked off the wall, and now off the bench. Sullivan racing after it. Persson way out of his net. He'll fire it back up to neutral ice. Jammernick sliding into Messenberg. That was incidental contact. Both guys went down. Kind of a soccer slide tackle-like, but it wasn't on purpose. Jammernick just lost his footing. Perron now gets it through traffic. Shot by Persson off of the shin pads of Sullivan. RedHawks clear it to center. Sullivan tracks the puck, chips it off the wall, still with it. And Sullivan just killing time right now for his teammates to get off the ice and does a good job. Finally, it's taken away. But Miami with some forecheck here finally as Nielsen is hindering on Livanovic. Moulton gloves it out of the air on the near half wall. Puck is back down on the ice with a pile up on top of it. It's whacked high out of the air by a high stick of North Dakota. Miami touches up. Nielsen from the low angle shoots one on. Second effort, both stopped by Persson. They beat him once there. They probably aren't going to beat him twice, but can't hurt to try. He holds on with 13:27 to go in the third. Miami still leads 4-2.
I mean, what a save. I can't get over that. What a sprawling save. That was just unbelievable. I mean, North Dakota is going to get their chances, and they are so good at creating chances like that. And it's times like that where you need your goaltender to come up big. And my goodness, if Bruno Braveris hasn't been their best player tonight, I don't know who the answer to that question is. But you know, that's kind of what this game is. I mean, you're playing. You know, we've said it over and over again. Arguably the best team in the nation, one of the top 3 teams in the nation, and they're going to get their chances no matter how hard you defend, no matter how good you are in the defensive zone. Oh, here
look out. Face-off was won by North Dakota, and they tried to clear the zone. It was deflected up into the netting and totally away from the puck. Lagerbach and Montgomery. Yeah, of course it's Teddy. Got tied up with each other up high, and each guy was kind of giving each other shoves, and they crashed into the far boards.
We should put that on a shirt.
And Lagerbach can mix it up with the best of them, man. He transferred in from Arizona State. He brings some of that grittiness that Miami doesn't necessarily have in a lot of other places. Matthew Barbolini, before he really rounded out his scoring talent, was kind of like that a couple of years ago. Now he's been more relied on for offense. He was nominated for the Hobie Baker, by the way. We haven't gotten the chance to mention that because he's not in the lineup. But early on in his career, that's kind of who he reminds me of before Barbolini really started scoring at a much higher level. Fighting Hawks take it into the zone. It's Weeb who sidearms a shot in wide. Hopping puck is poked out of the zone by Miami. Nice move, though, to knock it through center by Berg. Could have been a 2-on-1 the other way for Miami. Instead, the cross-ice feed finds Gaber, who retreats to his own defensive zone. And now a short pass through the middle seam for Berg. Back for Gaber near wing. Twists one in front. Stick to side Braveris. He was spread out, but no shot came as the puck is cleared behind the RedHawk goal. Up on the right point now, this is Kuntz. Gets around Fletcher. Now Clement, though, will knock him off the puck. Dempsey on the far side with Berg on him. Dempsey tried to play it ahead, but it hit off the skate of an unsuspecting Taransky. Fighting Hawks dump it in, and Miami catches a little bit of a break there as North Dakota elects to go for a 5-man change.
Coach Bergeron is hot. Goodness, he was not happy that was not a penalty.
Beiser pushes it back into his own end. Simonovics, the Latvian, heads behind the RedHawk net and rims it to the near side where it goes all the way to the North Dakota D zone. Air defenseman play catch there. Blake back for Zamolik. Couldn't drag through his teammates' legs and James. Instead, it'll be James that grabs it and dumps it in to the Miami end. Ryquist behind his own net. Just over 8 minutes gone by, third period. Miami leads 4-2 over number 2 North Dakota. Fighting Hawks jumped into the top 2 this week following Boston College's sweep BU in the Battle of Kamav this past weekend. Simonovic tried to dance one in front, turned it over. Blake with a between-the-legs pass to nobody. Miami catches a huge break there as they left it right on a string to one of North Dakota's top scorers right in front of their net, and he couldn't capitalize. Beiser on the far side, he gets spun around. Again, Chris Bergeron looks to be incensed on the Miami bench, dragging in and shooting from the left point. A goal by Logan Britt. And it's a whole new hockey game with 11:19 to go. Thought it might be coming the way the Fighting Hawks were pursuing the puck. Still over half the third left to go, and North Dakota's made it a 1-goal game.
That's a really tough break. A couple of plays that were a little bit broken. A bad turnover by Simonovic in the middle of the ice to a guy that you cannot turn the puck over to. Just a really unfortunate play that they couldn't get it out of their zone. I mean, they've got to find a way to maintain the puck and the possession that they have, but that's one of those streaks that North Dakota gets on, and then they just have the puck for the entire time. Looks like there's a problem with the boards.
So one of the panes of glass out in the corner is a little discolored, but that could just be from the light reflection. Yeah, John Elliott, who's the head of operations here at Cady Arena, just ran over to check on it. And now the officials have gone back to the referee's crease, and both teams are at their benches. So the goal is scored by Logan Britt. Credit the assist to Louis Jamernick. At 8:41 of the third, 11:19 left to go in our final period of regulation. It's 4-3 North Dakota. They're going to bring the ladder out. It doesn't look like the holding piece on top has anything wrong with it, but there is a pane of glass in the corner that is being worked on as we speak by the Miami building operations team.
To be honest, I think this isn't the worst thing in the world.
It's not for Miami at all.
Oh, they're getting a new paint, looks like.
So it is indeed discolored, I believe, because there was some cracking, and now the glass is kind of tilted, where from our perspective the light reflects off it a little better, and it does look to be shattered down there. Of course, if you're not familiar, the way that this,
look at that.
Yeah, they have now shown it on the TV broadcast, and you can see it's broken. The way that the glass is made with multiple layers, it shatters, but it doesn't break down like typical glass does, so it's just cracked in kind of a spider web pattern around the entire glass, but they'll have to pop it out with the magnets and put a new pane in the far corner, so we'll get a delay here with 11:19 to go in the third. And as you said, Jeff, this seemingly would really benefit a RedHawk team that's been back on their heels trying to door this North Dakota push, with the Fighting Hawks on the attack. Jack Clement has gone over to the officiating team and is having some discussions. We mentioned earlier on in that sequence that there were 2 plays in Miami's defensive zone that Chris Bergeron was very frustrated were not called as penalties on the RedHawk bench. So it looks as though Clement was trying to plead his case. It's not going to do anything, but at least get some sort of explanation of sorts. So they're continuing to work on this pane of glass on the far side. These 2 teams will meet again, by the way, as is customary. Tomorrow night we will have that game for you here on RedHawk Radio. 7:05 puck drop, like always, between Miami and North Dakota. Rare weekend this year where we are here at Cady Arena on back-to-back weeks, as that is the only time that has happened all season. The only time Miami's played 4 straight home games was back at the beginning of the year when they played Canisius and Arizona State in back-to-back series, but they had a bye week wedged in between. For Miami, they will have St. Cloud coming up next week before a bye week prior to the Denver series. And getting a little off track here, but talking about these RedHawk injuries as it relates to Miami long-term, it seems as though based off what we can kind of gather from what Chris Bergeron has said in press conferences and such, the injuries to Frankie Caragiuelo and Michael Feenstra are a little more serious for Vitalins, Barbolini, Helene, and Logan Neaton as well for the RedHawks, who Neaton is dressed. Those other 3 guys are scratched, but once again, we mentioned Neaton will not play. He's just on the bench purely because he can be if he wears full gear, and they like his leadership and locker room presence. What we can kind of gather for those guys is that because there's a bye week coming up, many of those guys maybe would be targeting next weekend to come back and play. However, it's looking like because of the bye week, Miami might elect to just hold them out this weekend and next weekend, give them that extra week of rest before they force them back into the lineup. And then if you're Miami, you're hoping at that point you're still going to have a couple of those more serious injuries that'll last longer. But you're hoping that for the moment at least, you'll be somewhat healthy. You'll be able to play the full complement of your lineup, at least in number, and not have to do this 11-8 nonsense all the time, as Miami has had to do pretty much the whole season.
Yeah, and I think that that's something that we have to remember with this game, you know, whether it's a win or a loss, is the fact that this is a really, really hurt RedHawks team. And obviously, you know, North Dakota is suffering from their own injuries. I think the biggest name is Hunter Johannes, who's normally on the first line. And he's, 15 points in 23 games. He's been really good as per usual for this North Dakota team. But man, you're out your 2nd leading scorer, your 4th leading scorer, and your 5th leading scorer, and your best goaltender. And that's just an awful place to go. It's an awful place to be in when you play a team like North Dakota, who is suffering from injuries, but not nearly as many as a Miami team that needs as much scoring as it can get.
Yeah, like Jeff mentioned, North Dakota's without a couple of pieces as well, and Hunter Johannes and Carson Albrecht, who actually scored a goal in this building last year against the RedHawks. Those are a couple of energy type of guys for Brad Berry and his lineup. But yeah, Miami, things have been significantly more systemic, I guess, if you want to call it that, long term in what the RedHawks have been without. It's been a lot of long-term injuries, and the few week-to-week injuries that have piled up, there's concurrently 2 or 3 of them, it feels like. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's felt like all year there's been somebody that's in the top of the lineup that's been hurt. Like, Vitalins was out for a weekend or 2, and, Neaton's been out, and Barbolini was out, and Helene, I think this is his first stint out this year. But it's just been that kind of year, and I honestly think that given the circumstances, I think that the RedHawks as a team and the coaching staff have done a good job of kind of managing game to game how to deal with that. Caragiuelo has been out pretty much the entire season, which is really unfortunate. But yeah, Frankie was killing it too. He was really good those first couple weeks of the season. Yeah. Miami's only Hobey Baker winner in their history was Andy Mealy, who had a very similar play style to Frankie Caragiuelo. He was very small. Mealy was 5'6", but he was just an elite goal scorer, had speed, he could forecheck. That was the type of player that they were looking for out of Caragiuelo, and you just feel horrible with the way that he started the season and how good he looked, and he's been out this long. And will be out the foreseeable future. 11:19 to go, third period. And finally, we are back underway. Shout out to the ops crew getting the glass all fixed. North Dakota has cut it to a 1-goal game off the goal by Logan Britt. And the Fighting Hawks move it left to right into the Miami zone as we approach the halfway mark of the period. That goal, by the way, the third of the year for Britt, transfer from Sacred Heart in Atlantic Hockey. Fletcher steps it into the North Dakota zone, rims it around to the far side, missed everybody all the way up to the right point. Shot sent in by Clement is directed aside by Persson. Fletcher tried to play it in behind, deflected right back to him, looking for Waldron out in the slot. He couldn't corral a bouncing puck, and it is softly chipped back out to center where the RedHawks will grab it. Waldron on the dump-in attempt. Miami going for changes. Persson out of his net to punch it aside into the near corner. Gaber circling. He will hand off for Persson up the near seam. Persson with a cross-corner dump over to the far corner with 10:22 to go in the period. Kumlin got a little out of control on the clear attempt off the glass. He shoots it up into the top row with a low bowl here at Cady Arena. We get a stoppage. 10:20 to go in the third. 4-3 the score with Miami leading North Dakota. D-zone draw coming up for the RedHawks.
Coming out of this break is where you really need to step on the gas. I mean, this third period can't be where you take it off. You gotta. This has got to be your best period.
Shot off the draw by Blake was blocked by a mass of bodies in front, and it will be cleared out by Albin Nielsen for Miami. Back out at center. Blake shifting around, and now we'll leave it in behind him, where it's touched by Persson further back for McLaughlin. He'll head up the left side, reverse it back for Blake as he takes a hit. Blake dances right, moves left, gets into the zone. McLaughlin try to get it forward, and the RedHawks will take the loose puck and clear it just short of the center red. Fired back in by North Dakota. McLaughlin on the left point has it poked by him by Lagerbach as the Fighting Hawks are back out at center. Miami thinks they can trap this game away. They probably can't.
That's what I was just about to say. They're really sitting back right now, and I don't think I'm a fan of that.
Schmaltz in the far corner of the offensive zone for North Dakota's got two RedHawks on his back in Cox and Lagerbach. Kumlin now sees the puck pop free to him behind the RedHawk cage, skates it to the near wing, and knocks it off the glass and out to center. Puck comes right back to him after Zamolik tried to clear it ahead. He goes D-to-D for Cox, sauces it back for Kumlin on the near side, and the Swede plays it forward for Daskis, who touches it into the Fighting Hawk end. Morrison applying some forecheck for Miami. He gets to the puck and hands it off for Daskis. Daskis getting pinned along the wall by Zamolik, as now the puck is pried free, and it's Jamernick skating it to the far side for North Dakota. He'll backhand it into the RedHawk end as most of the Fighting Hawks on the ice go for changes. There are no forecheckers yet, and now Ness will come in as the only guy. He slides in as he blew a tire in front of the RedHawk net into Preveris. As the RedHawks take it the other way, it's Taransky with a burst of speed, gets to the front, and shoves it right into the chest of Persson. Taransky's got elite-level acceleration. We don't often see it, but we've seen it a couple of times in generating rushes seemingly out of thin air, and it happened again there. We get a stoppage with 8:38 to go in the third, and Miami still leads North Dakota 4-3. So we've got a media timeout here from Cady Arena, and we will, I guess, stay here for it as well. Why not?
Yeah, exactly.
Miami and North Dakota here on Friday night. RedHawks lead it 4-3.
That was that. I mean, we saw that early in this game. Tanyan Beiser just flew down the wing and created that goal for Thomas Daskis, and you know, those are the shots that. I mean, that one was kind of right into the chest of Persson, but he hasn't looked super comfortable with those. And I mean, we've talked with head coach Chris Bergeron about Artem Taransky before, and he said that he doesn't think that Taransky's production is as, or the box score doesn't represent what Taransky's been able to do for this team and how he's looked so far this season. And I think I totally agree, just because there's a lot of ways that Taransky contributes that's not on the score sheet. And when he does contribute on the score sheet, you know, he's passing the puck really well. He can score goals. He's an underrated piece of this lineup, just because I think that the box score numbers haven't come yet. I mean, 7 points in 23 games is not exactly what you'd think. If you come to the games and watch him play every weekend, you wouldn't think that that was his stat line. But unfortunately, it is. But I think that he's found a way to be an effective player, you know, outside of just scoring, which is, you know, a testament to the kind of resiliency he has in a tough season.
Yeah, to that point, when you kind of see how Chris Bergeron has responded to questions surrounding this team's ability to score and the amount of chances they've had and the lack of goals they've had in comparison. Artur Turansky is often the first guy that he points to and someone that's just generating chance after chance after chance every weekend. He's got 2 or 3 of them a game, it seems like, and the points aren't going in, but you just got to trust that eventually they will. Turansky's had another pretty solid night. Offensive zone draw for Miami coming out of the timeout. It is won by North Dakota, but the clearing attempt glove down by Waldron at the blue line. He'll try to skate it in and fire in front, but a nice sprawling block there by Weeb, and North Dakota takes it the other way. Gaber slightly delayed at the blue line on the right wing, gets it into the zone, but loses it as Moulton steps in his way behind the RedHawk cage. Played through the middle, Fletcher up the right wing. It got popped up in the air for Turansky, who fell to the ground. Cross-ice feed now finds Moulton in plenty of space. He gets through, drags and shoots, looking for high glove, and it just went wide. Puck rings around the boards out to neutral ice, where it's being backed into the Miami D zone by Robbie Drasner. Ahead for Albin Nielsen, who's got one hand on his stick protecting and gets it down the left wing and into the zone before it's finally taken off his stick with 3 Fighting Hawks engaging with him. Ripped around the near side. James finds it in space. Down the right wing. Stops at the circle. Trying to play it in front. Sticked away by Nielsen. And now Dukovac has a lane down the right side. He enters the zone. Dukovac loses his handle. Now he'll hit the brakes. Gets it up to the point looking for Daskis, but it was on his backhand. All he can do is one-time forward. Not only taken away by the Fighting Hawks, but they rush the other way. McLaughlin touching it back for Blake. He got tied up. Persson from the right point with space. He's closed off by Daskis and can't fire. Persson circling. From right point to left. Now he hands off McLaughlin. Cross-ice pass hit off a skate. Ended up in the high slot. Simonovic's there for Miami. He'll play it off the glass and down. It's settled by Daskis. Cannot step around Persson. And North Dakota will outlet. Blake up to the far side. It's Jammernick skating it into the RedHawk zone. Handles over the stick of Dempsey. Tried to get down low, but couldn't shoot that one from the goal line. Instead, it's deflected behind the RedHawk net. Simonovic's forward for Morrison. Hit hard there by Jammernick. Still finds Daskis, tried to twist it into the North Dakota zone, but only half did so. It's Zamolik across the ice for Britt, and now back to Zamolik. 6:42 to go third period, Miami by a goal. Zamolik into the corner, circling behind the RedHawk net. Now he will try to play it through. It's off a RedHawk stick, might have been Lagerbach high off the glass and all the way down as Miami goes for a full change, and North Dakota will almost do the same with 4 of the 5 going to the bench. Look out, nearly a takeaway by Turansky in front of the North Dakota net. Now a takeaway by the RedHawks, and Turansky plays it far side. Waldron back for Fletcher, he shoots. Just save made, rebound whacked at by Turansky, and Persson stood him up once again. North Dakota delayed at the blue line. Miami really wanted an offside there, but it was called good to go. Doesn't matter as the RedHawks will just take it and fire down. That was Miami's chance to get an insurance goal. Berg trying to play it through the middle. Fletcher hit it right back to him. Berg back for Coons on the near side, looking for Gaber. It got touched away from him. Nielsen caught some contact, was unable to grab the puck. It's fired into the RedHawk end. Kuhlman can't get it off the wall, so he'll just leave it, and Turansky will come to the rescue and lift it back out past center. 5:39 to go third period with the RedHawks up a goal on number 2 North Dakota. Gonna need a full effort over these final 5. It's Blake skating through the middle for the Fighting Hawks, leaves off McLaughlin. Now James catches it on the backhand. It's taken away by Dukovac for Miami, and he'll chip it softly out of the zone once again. Blake circling once more for North Dakota. Speedy down the right side, hands it for James just outside the blue. His pass through the center was errant, and Sullivan's feed looking ahead was deflected back to the RedHawk defense, who will dump it into the North Dakota zone. Miami again going for changes. Pushed forward Blake with a handoff for McLaughlin. Down the right wing, McLaughlin stops just short of the blue, and it's poked out of the zone and quickly comes back in. North Dakota on a delayed offsides has to vacate. RedHawks have time to get it forward. Drasner forces it up the right side, past 2 Fighting Hawks with a couple of attempts. Into the far corner of the North Dakota zone, it's Persson checked against the Zamboni doors. His stick gets stuck for a moment. Now he pulls it free. Meanwhile, puck is reversed to the near side for Strinden. Into the RedHawk zone. Strinden chops one. That goes wide behind the RedHawk net. It's Lagerbach ahead for Miami. Waldron, who's seeing tons of ice time late, grabs it and gets hit. North Dakota back into the RedHawk zone. Played out in front. A shot by Zamolik from the high slot is nowhere close. Fletcher was breaking, but Turansky can't find him. All he can do is push it up to center, up the far side. Golden opportunity there for Zamolik from the high slot. North Dakota's had a couple of those. They've missed the net trying to pick corners quite a few times as they still trail by a goal, making our way to the late stages. Puck into the RedHawk end. It's pinned up against the near corner with 4:04 to go in the third. It's Dempsey working on Kuntz. Kuntz has it settle on his stick, plays it towards the right post. It sat there for a moment, but the RedHawks will clear it to the wall. Gaber dodges around a couple, gets to the left wing. Gaber now circles the net. In behind, he'll hit the brakes behind the RedHawk cage, plays low to high.
Good
shot
save.
for the point and a save with a turnaround. Falling to his side, Braveris will hang on to it. 3:44 to go, third period. And Miami leads North Dakota 4-3. A lot of goals are scored like that, working low to high with pace. That was another great chance by the Fighting Hawks, and Bruno Braveris, again, equal to the task.
Yeah, and I think this timeout couldn't come at a better time because Miami got a couple chances, weren't able to convert. Big saves by Ludvig Persson, but North Dakota just comes down and they just possess the puck for the entire shift. There's just they tire out the defense, and then there aren't sticks on pucks, there aren't bodies on bodies, and the puck doesn't get out of the zone, and it causes problems. And luckily your goaltender's playing well enough to where you can trust him in the net. The goals really haven't been Braveris' fault, but man, what a save and what a sequence. 3:44 left remaining in this game.
So with the 3:44, Miami leads North Dakota 4-3. North Dakota has maintained a narrow shots lead, 31-28. Bruno Braveris has been excellent in this game. The thing is, though, for Miami is that you can kind of point back to the Ludvig Persson days in the RedHawk net when you say the goalie was your best player in a game and it won you a game.
Yep.
That was a little different, though. That was the type of game where you'd get outshot maybe 40-20 and you'd win 2-1.
Yep.
This game, Braveris has had to make good saves, no doubt, but his team has played better in front of him. They've had the offense as well, where Braveris is the best player on the ice for Miami, absolutely, in this game. It's not quite a put the team on your back type of deal, though, as we've seen in the past with the netminders now in the other net for Miami.
Even with Logan Neaton as well.
Exactly, even this year.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, and it was different for a goalie. I mean, I'm not a goalie myself, but I've talked to plenty, and it's definitely a different mindset when you're in there making save after save, and no one's scoring on the other end. But when your team has offense as well as you're making stops, the confidence grows.
Miami wins the face-off, reverses to the near side and clears. And now a turnover up high. Waldron catches it down the right side across for Fletcher. And what a save by Neaton the other way. He sprawls from left to right and got it with the blocker and pad. North Dakota now heading left to right. Huge collision. Both guys looked unsuspecting at center ice between Berg and Fletcher. My Lord.
Ludvig Persson. Jesus.
PJ Fletcher robbed. RedHawks will throw this one down cross ice, and it will go for icing with 3:12 to go in the third.
How about this for a goaltending match?
At times, it hasn't looked like Ludvig Persson's night necessarily. I mean, if you wonder if the NHL level talent is still there, he's been to quite a few pro camps. He was with the Chicago Blackhawks despite being undrafted when he was with this Miami team. I mean, talent doesn't go away, and talent has still been there throughout this year despite some of the struggles today. That was an excellent save. These guys are going toe-to-toe, two really strong European goaltenders in Braveris and Ludvig Persson. Miami's going to call timeout here with 3:12 to go to rest their guys following the icing. That was maybe not the longest shift in the world, but required a lot of
every second
bag
counts.
skating.
Yep. Every second matters this late in the game against as good of a team as they're playing. Goodness gracious. Yeah, I mean, this has been a phenomenal game no matter who you root for. I think that big saves from goaltenders, some lucky goals, I will say, but man, this has been awesome to watch. I think this is the kind of hockey that you want when you come to Miami. This is the kind of hockey that you're looking for, and they've given it to them tonight. I think this is, to change the subject a little bit, go back to what we were talking about, I think this has definitely been Ludvig Persson's best period by a long shot.
Yeah.
He looks much more comfortable.
And again, he was the type of guy that this RedHawk team, I mean, I think one of the main reasons when you look why he might have transferred out to this program was the sheer amount of shots. Goalies like to see a lot of shots, but
not that many.
Not that many. He was seeing, upwards of 45 a game at times throughout the season, but he had that ability to steal a game. This is an entirely different situation, but it's still similar enough as a goaltender. You have to make late saves. Miami goes up 2 there, and this is very, very different looking Instead, he gives his team a great shot. Offensive zone faceoff, 3:12 to go, third period for North Dakota. They trail Miami by 1. RedHawks win the faceoff. Dukavac's clearing attempt, though, flutters up in the air for a moment and now settles on the stick of Britt, center point for the Fighting Hawks. He walks to the far side, wrists one through traffic. That might have caught a deflection. Pad save made against the ice by Braveris. RedHawks will tap it back out past center ice. Still a little ways away. A huge hit laid there on Britt after he dumped the puck in by Sullivan. Clement has it behind the Miami net. Clement trying to work it free. Gets it to Dempsey. Dempsey up the wing for Dukavac with a little bit of space. McLaughlin hindering him from behind, but the RedHawks do chop it through center. See how aggressive Brad Berry wants to be here with 2:33 to go in the third. His team down a goal. Takeaway in the Miami zone by Gaber. Clement pokes it to the far wing. Thrown in front by Gaber. It hit off the pad of Braveris from behind the net and deflected out in front, but the RedHawks track it and do clear. 2-on-2 the other way for Miami. Taransky with Waldron. Back to Taransky. He shoots a deflected puck. Save made with the chin of Ludvig Persson. Behind the net now, 2:08 remaining with North Dakota down a goal. Fighting Hawks get it to the far side where it's dumped in by Livanovich. Near half wall, Gaber. Hands off for Berg. Circling in the near corner. Still in the net, Persson looking to his bench. Livanovich plays it off the end boards with under 2 minutes to play. Drasner in the far corner works it up the half wall. Puck is deflected towards the slot area where Fletcher will just loft this one out. Puck is rolling, going, and icing very close. As Livanovich was a step behind it with 1:41 to go in the third. Interested to see now if Brad Berry uses his time out here, because you almost get an advantage in your own right out of the icing. He is gathering the troops next to the bench, so Miami could catch a big-time break here following the icing call. With 1:41 to go in the third, RedHawks up a goal. And
they're taking
North
their
Dakota,
time.
there it is. North Dakota still hadn't taken their time out, although they were gathered for about 30 seconds, and I think the officiating crew knew it was inevitable because they weren't making a huge move over to get them to the dot. The call came from Brad Berry, and he will take out the drawing board with 1:41 to go in the third period. His team down a goal. So Miami called their timeout earlier on an icing. It plays into the RedHawks' hand a little bit in that they get the rest following their icing. You almost feel, Jeff, there's two sides to the coin here, because on one hand, you're approaching that territory. You could pull the goalie off the draw, and the thought there is that you're aggressive, you've been the better team over the last few minutes, and you're putting on the pressure, so you want to have 6 for as long as possible. But then there's the other side of that where you've been the better team, and maybe you don't need that 6th attacker until you absolutely require it closer to the 1 minute area. So interested to see what Brad Berry does here if he brings Persson off, and it looks like 6 guys are going to line up for North Dakota.
Yeah, and I think that it's an interesting decision because, there's a lot of debate about whether pulling your goalie is even worth it, especially for, at this level and the kind of disparity in the talent that you have. But some would argue you keep them up at the top of the face-off dots, wait for a face-off win. But I guess they're going to be super aggressive here, and that's not really a surprise given the talent that they have.
Here we go, 6-on-5 with 1:41 to go in the third. Miami leads North Dakota 4-3. Shots are even at 30. It's the top line out there for North Dakota, with the extra skater being Gaber. Check that, it's the second line. RedHawks win the faceoff down. This is fluttering towards the empty net, but it won't get there. RedHawks pushed the faceoff. That would have been something. It ended up about hash mark depth before it was tracked down by Livanovich. Under 90 seconds left to play. Blake to the far side, hands it off for Kuntz, and he'll play it in deep in the RedHawk zone. Drasner back behind the Miami net. Gaber with the takeaway for North Dakota. Up left point, Livanovich. Handling, back off for Jackson Blake. Back to Livanovich, center point. Livanovich shoots through traffic, 2 deflections, it goes wide into the far corner. Blake plays it for Gaber, the bumper. Back up Livanovich. Left point, he hands off for Blake. Livanovich to the right side. It's played out in front by Berg. Puck is loose in the slot, and North Dakota scores. Reese Gaber, his 14th of the year with 59 seconds left to go, and the Fighting Hawks tie the game with the extra attacker. It's 4-4.
Couldn't get the puck out. That's just, that's a heartbreaker right there. This game is absolutely not over. It's important to remember that. Man, that puck was bouncing just all around the slot and up at the top of the zone. Just a couple bounces that didn't go the RedHawks' way, and Reese Gaber He's been on it this year. He's been phenomenal, almost a point per game player, team captain. Had a huge goal against Denver in their last series. Just that's the second best team in the nation right there.
Still a minute left in regulation. We're now tied at 4. Again, North Dakota has not been pointless in a game in conference play this season. Every single one of their 4 losses has at least gone to overtime, and they avoid the regulation loss in all likelihood again here with the late goal by Gaber. North Dakota back on the attack. They flung it into the Miami end. It's Strinden playing it in behind. Sullivan getting to it on the far wing. Schmaltz working on him. It's chopped up to the left point. North Dakota will hold the zone briefly, but now it's carried out by Sullivan. Sullivan couldn't keep it away from Strinden, but he was delayed just enough at the blue line for an offside with 33.5 seconds to go in regulation. Game tied at 4.
Another little lucky break there on that offside. Just a little careless with the puck by Sullivan. I mean, he got pressured by that defender as well, so it's not all on him. Tried to make the play that he could, and it just went right to the North Dakota skater. Luckily, it was offside at the line.
Face-off win, a neutral ice by the Fighting Hawks. It's dumped in by Pike. Cross corner to the near side where it hits off the glass and heads to the far side. Now near wing once again. Spencer Cox tried to lift it out of the zone and he fanned on it. Berg with a takeaway, drags, throws it in. It's saved by Braveris, rebound out in front, and Gaber lofted it high from the slot. 15 seconds to go, 2-on-2 the other way for Miami. It's played forward by Waldron, but a takeaway by Berg. Now with 8 seconds to go, he's down the wing, throws it cross ice in front. Pike with a drive. That one is blocked. Where's the puck? It's in the netting with 0.8 seconds to go. The RedHawks almost just lost the game right there. It was on the stick of Reese Gaber in between the hashes with nobody in front of him. And it might have rolled on edge on him because that shot was not really near the net. He just kind of mishit it.
Yeah, it was flat. On that replay, it looks flat. Just skied it.
Just a misfire from Gaber.
And there have been a couple of those tonight for North Dakota that they probably should have scored on. Man, that's just, again, being careless with the puck. That's the kind of stuff that you didn't see through those first 2 periods. The RedHawks really weren't careless with the puck in the first and second period. There were times in that first, and Jack Clement had kind of a major turnover in the middle of the ice. Simonovic's turned the puck over, but that's just one of those. I guess we're going to see how much time is left.
Yeah, the officials are going to quickly go review this. It did indeed look like, because no one knew where the puck was, both on the ice or in the penalty box, that some time, I would guess about a second and a half, ran off that clock after it had actually hit the protective netting. So they'll review it for clock, as Brad Berry called the officials over and said he wanted them to check so he could get one more face-off out of this. Tie game at 4, late in the third period, as Brad Berry gets a fortunate thing out of this, and he can set up a face-off play in what's kind of a free timeout. RedHawks got a free timeout earlier on. Here's North Dakota's free timeout. Everything balances out, so they will likely put some more time on this clock. Right now, 0.8 seconds left. Again, just based off of where everyone lost control of that puck, as we don't really have great replay capability here. When that puck was shot and deflected, it would be, I think, logical to guess maybe around 2 seconds, enough for a face-off win and a shot going to be put on this clock. Here's our call. It'll be 2 seconds.
Look at that.
Hey.
How about that?
So Brad Berry's not going to pull the goalie here. They're going to say 2.7 actually.
Yeah, that looks about right.
Yeah, again, that was about what we expected. Face off on the left wing side for McLaughlin. He's got Blake on his left wing. That's in all likelihood the shooter. Face off is won by Daskis, as that was a hot contention. McLaughlin trying to get his earliest jump on that, but he couldn't. And regulation comes to a close.
Daskis went straight forward into McLaughlin.
Went right into the body to kill the rest of the time. North Dakota has extended the longest point streak in NCHC history by avoiding the regulation loss. They still have not lost in regulation in NCHC play. Fighting Hawks with 4 losses on the year, all coming in overtime. Rough third period there for Miami, but the good news is this game still lies right in front of you in the 3-on-3. If you can get your best 3 out there. North Dakota, given the skill on this roster, is probably advantage with the extra space, but you never know what can happen, as we will skate 3 aside for the next 5 minutes. North Dakota has a couple of overtime wins on the season. They actually have played in 7 overtime games, and their first 3, they tied Minnesota State and then won the next 2, first against Bemidji State, or first against Boston University, I should say, and then against Bemidji State. For Miami, the RedHawks beat Arizona State in overtime with John Waldron's winner, lost in a shootout the following night to the Sun Devils. They lost in overtime last week against Duluth in a reverse situation where they tied the game late on Saturday night. Picked up the point in the standings, but were unable to finish. So the second straight game to go to overtime for Miami. RedHawks also had a shootout loss against the Bulldogs here at Cady Arena earlier this year, and an overtime loss here against Mercyhurst. And the RedHawks, you remember, went up 4-1 going into the third against Ferris State in the opener, and they lost that game in overtime. So overtime hasn't been tremendously kind to Miami. They do have one win this year. It came in this building against Arizona State. Miami looking for some similar late game magic here, as it looks like the RedHawks will go with Fletcher, Ryquist, Waldron. Miami moving left to right in the overtime. For North Dakota, they go with Gaber playing up top with Berg. And the defenseman is Jake Livyanovich.
And this is really where you miss Vitalins, Barbolini, and Helene. I mean, those are 3 guys that, you know, get minutes in overtime. I mean, we talked about it earlier too. I mean, this game, this game felt like it was headed to this point. What a contest. This is awesome.
All right, here comes the opening draw of overtime between Miami and North Dakota. It's won by John Waldron and the RedHawks, and off we go on the extra period. Ryquist skating it down the near side for Miami. Gaber loosely on him. Ryquist hits the brakes, and now Gaber will pin him. Reinforcements arriving. Livyanovich gets there first for North Dakota, and he'll play it behind the Fighting Hawk net. Now it's Berg up the far side. Back behind for Livyanovich. RedHawks pressuring him. He'll leave it in the near corner where Gaber will get back to it for the Fighting Hawks. Gaber gets behind his own net, sidesteps Waldron, and now this will turn into a 2-on-2 the other way. As skating down the right side, Gaber will round the RedHawk net and now hit the brakes behind it, headed back to the far side. Reese Gaber, who had the tying goal, leaves it off for Livyanovich, spins away from Waldron in the right circle. He shoots, and it's deflected high and into the protective netting. 45 seconds into the overtime with Miami North Dakota tied at 4.
It's probably good because Hampus Ryquist was on the forecheck really well there in those first 45 seconds, but he looked a little bit tired in the defensive zone. So it's good to get a change. Yeah,
it is interesting. Miami elected to forecheck pretty hard there, and they were lucky they didn't really get punished for it there. Offensive zone draw for North Dakota. They've now got McLaughlin and Blake out there with Pike. Miami wins the draw. They've got Dukovac, Sullivan, and Kumlin out there as the 3. Behind the RedHawk net, this is Max Dukovac, the sophomore from Illinois. Sends it up for Sullivan, back for Dukovac down the left wing. Dukovac steps to the side, enters the North Dakota zone. Dukovac getting down low, down to the net, and Dukovac couldn't fire from just below the dots. Dukovac now forechecking, steals the puck away, and rounds the right circle. Dukovac in front for Kumlin, his slap shot, and a save just barely with the arm of Persson. RedHawk player blows a tire. Miami is gassed. 2-on-1 the other way. It's Blake and McLaughlin. Blake moves in, off the pipe. He scores! Jackson Blake in overtime on the 2-on-1. And North Dakota comes back to beat Miami 5-4 in the extra period.
I don't know how that's not interference. Ryan Sullivan got hit in the middle of the ice, and that was his guy that was going down. He would have been back in time, and there was nothing. It looked a little bit, I mean, it's hard to tell. The incidental, like slightly incidental, but he's standing in front of the net and he turns and he just hits him, and then it's a 2-on-1 because Sullivan's guy was, free. He didn't have anybody on him. That's really unfortunate.
Initially thought Miami might challenge to see if maybe that puck didn't go in, but I mean, it probably hit back bars. The RedHawks have now all headed off the ice, and that's it. So what a comeback by the Fighting Hawks, and they continue the point streak, and the number 2 team in the nation avoids what could have been a hefty upset against a team that sits in the bottom third of pairwise in Division I. North Dakota beats Miami 5-4 in overtime here on Friday night. RedHawks are going to get another chance tomorrow, Jeff, but I mean, it's going to be really difficult to replicate the type of effort that they had in this game. Miami is not a team that can't be at their best and keep up with teams like North Dakota. The RedHawks had it tonight. To have it on back-to-back nights would be a lot to ask, but got to try after a back-breaking loss here on Friday night in overtime. The RedHawks drop it 5-4.
Yeah, and I mean, at this point, it's all about the response, right? I mean, you get to overtime. You had a 2-goal lead, and the second-best team in the nation does what the second-best team in the nation does, and comes back, and some big saves from their goalie that didn't look comfortable at all in the first 2 periods, and that's really what changed the game, I think. I mean, Miami, it didn't feel like they had any more or any less good chances. It was just that Ludvig Persson really took a step up in that 3rd period and made some huge saves. I mean, we talked about it. If that goal goes in down here on this left side, and I believe it was P.J. Fletcher that shot it, and Persson sprawled out to save it. If that goes in, this is a completely different game. And it's just unfortunate that the RedHawks didn't get rewarded with a win tonight, because they looked really good for 2 periods, but that's just what really good teams do. They play full 3 periods of hockey. They can be down 2 goals and still come back and like you said, keep that historic point streak going. Just a really good game of hockey, no matter who you're rooting for. We said that earlier, but from a RedHawks perspective, I would say, considering their injuries, it was a very, very valiant effort, and the result was an unfortunate one.
So Miami drops game 1 of the series 5-4 in overtime off the game winner by Jackson Blake in the extra period. North Dakota capitalized with the extra attacker on with under a minute to play to tie the game, and the Fighting Hawks come back from 2 down to beat the RedHawks here on Friday night. We will be back here tomorrow. The crowd will be back here as well. They're actually expecting more people to be here tomorrow than there were today. It was announced as a sellout this morning. Tomorrow evening, as the RedHawks and the Fighting Hawks meet up once again tomorrow evening, 7:05 puck drop, as always, here from Cady Arena. So we'll wrap up on this Friday night. Excited to be with you. Hope it can even be a shred as exciting as this one was here tonight, tomorrow evening. Unfortunate ending for the RedHawks, but certainly an entertaining 60 minutes plus as the game took us into overtime. Final score from Cady Arena: North Dakota 5 and Miami 4. For Jeff Middleton and the rest of our great RedHawk radio crew, I'm Luke West Poley saying so long. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place on RedHawk Radio for Miami and North Dakota Part 2. Until then, good night.